All right, folks, we are live for another Pangburn Hangout. We are doing this one on the original, or the first YouTube channel, because I want to invite you guys to the new one. These shows will actually be happening in the future on this new channel. I just gave you guys the link in the chat here. There's also a link in the description to the new channel. I just want to make sure all of you know, because since we're in YouTube's shit books, YouTube will, unless we make this as clickbaity as possible for you, YouTube will not show you. Do you mind muting just for a sec, Zombie? YouTube will not show us, or sorry, show you any of our live streams or any way of notifying you that the daily live streams are going to be happening on the Pangburn Offensive channel. And that's the title of the new channel, the Pangburn Offensive. I hope you guys check it out. Big Drink says, who would win in a fight, Oprah or Michelle Obama? Oh, Michelle Obama is going to fucking dominate that, man. Have you seen her arms? Have you seen the bulge in her pants? No, I'm kidding. I'm just feeding the conspiracy theorists out there. But yes, the Pangburn Offensive is the new channel. If you like these daily discussions that we have, it's kind of the Pangburn radio show. The Pangburn Hangout will be happening on the new YouTube channel, the Pangburn Offensive. So make sure you guys head over, subscribe, and hit the like button. Let's piss off YouTube a little bit, because they've been trying to censor what we do daily here on the main channel at Pangburn. They've pulled monetization away from us for over 7 months now, and they're trying to basically snuff us out. So what's happening right now is we are transferring all of the content from like roughly the past 6 or 7 months over to the new Pangburn Offensive channel. So you're going to see some content moved from this channel, the original Pangburn channel, over to the Pangburn Offensive. So I hope that all makes sense, but make sure you head over and subscribe to that new channel. We're going to run this live stream today here on this channel, the original channel, but we will transfer this content at the end of today over to the new channel as well. So yeah, I hope you guys join us. If you haven't jumped into Discord yet and join us for our daily convos, I highly suggest that you do. So I've given our moderators, a few of our moderators, 7 to be exact, their own day on the Discord to run their own conversations. And one of those people is Zombie Kill a Chick, and today is her day to run a conversation and to pick a topic. So and her choice has been male versus female romance. How we all think about romance. I've been asking some questions to the Discord about kind of trying to get people to explain what their most romantic moment has been in their life, and that's kind of sparked this conversation about romance. And I think it's a topic for our social species that we don't discuss enough. So thanks for doing this, Zombie, again on our Friday, sex, drugs, and rock and roll and crime crime day. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing this. I'm gonna do a lot of listening today. I want to hear from everyone else, but the floor is yours.
Well, you got me thinking when you asked that. Where did the most romantic moment in your life occur? Because I couldn't really think about anything. and and then
that's kind of sad.
Well, no. I mean, as a result of much thinking since then, I've come up with a few. But it made me start to think maybe women have a different definition of romance than men do
in general. And obviously, just so we don't get people strawmanning, we are speaking generally about men and women, just right off the bat.
Right.
I don't want to hear all these strawmans. Not every single woman or every single man.
Exactly.
We're just speaking generally about the sexes, so hold your wad there, folks.
I mean, because when you asked that question, I felt like a lot of people were answering based on actions and things that occurred versus feelings, and I look at that more as feelings, romance. Right. Like so it got me thinking that maybe we just have different definitions. And so of course I looked up the definition of romance, because I'm like, let me see what the Webster's dictionary said. And it was a feeling of excitement and mystery associated with love. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, because I don't know, I without like telling people my life story, I can come up with a lot of those feelings at moments, but like I don't know, I just I feel like it changes maybe with where we are in relationships with people, whether we're in that early excitement stage or like the maintenance of a relationship, or maybe the waning of a relationship. So I think that maybe that romance actually changes in time with those individuals. I see Alexander on here. I'm interested, because from a more clinical perspective, what he thinks. Oh, hey, Ola. I'm glad I'm not in the midst of a sausage fest.
No, little vegetarian sausages here as well.
Excellent. Is Alexander around?
Yeah, I'm here. Excuse me. To be honest, this isn't my specialty. I'm not particularly versed in gender and sexuality and things like that clinically. But just on a general note, and like you guys said before, obviously to specific people, but men a lot of times are more action things oriented in the way they communicate, and women tend to be more social, emotional. So that could be a big part of it. I would say that's probably true in romances, at least in the clients that I've seen. And that might even be why the conversation last time went the way that it did.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really weigh in on it because, and then I think someone left the kind of saying, oh, wow, I feel really bad that like not many of you have responded, kind of assuming that many people haven't ever experienced romance. So I thought that was kind of interesting in itself. Oh, hey, Bobby, what's up?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. What are your thoughts about just how your perception of what romance is?
I'm gonna need to come back to you on that. So
okay.
I'll have an answer, but I'm gonna need some time to think about it.
See, out of anyone in this chat, I view Bobby as a very romantic kind of guy.
Oh.
So I'm holding the bar high to you later, Bobby.
Okay. Well, I have performed quite a number of what I would call grand romantic gestures.
That's awesome.
So
he's performed what?
A lot of grand romantic gestures.
Uh-huh. Lay it on us. We'll be the judge of that.
Well, I always, if I ever get into a fight with a partner, and as a method of trying to make up, I just start unzipping my pants really slowly, and hopefully that allows them to think, you know what? This fight isn't worth it. Wait, I think I know what I need to do to make up.
Oh my. That's funny.
This has gone a different way than I thought.
Dude, I'm just getting a little hot here.
That's not what I was expecting from him.
Well, no, I'm playing around.
Either that or
I know
playing around.
I know it's shallow, but I want the men here to tell me if they genuinely have a favorite romantic movie, because I've decided in my little world, I don't think men like romance. I think they say they do, but they just like romancing a woman because they think women like it.
That's a great question. I will say Shakespeare in Love. Shakespeare in Love is number 1 for me, and number 2 for me is Blast from the Past, starring Brendan Fraser and Alicia Silverstone. I love those two romantic movies. They get me all feeling butterfly-y like.
And what gets you?
What was the first one? Pangburn?
Butterfly about them. What is it? There'll be a little scene in there.
So Shakespeare in Love, I find like the one of the most romantic moments in cinema history when the play is when they're actually reading and playing out the play, and everyone is seeing it come together, and you can tell they're all having their own kind of internal interpretation of love and how it makes them feel. Like everyone's feeling so warm while they're watching the balcony scene play out between Romeo and Juliet. I think, you know, that moment is a big one for me. And let me underline my favorite romantic moment in cinema history, I think, is in Blast from the Past, which is essentially, for those of you who don't know it, it's essentially a romantic comedy about this guy. His dad is this crazy scientist guy, and he's built this fallout shelter when he was convinced that the commies were going to be bombing the United States of America. And what happens is they hear this warning on the TV, but it ended up being a false warning. Except what happens is, even though it was a false warning, he brings his family down into this really robust fallout shelter, and what happens while they're down there, this plane, just as sheer luck, and again, this is just a fantasy comedy, by sheer luck, this plane happens to crash right on top of the fallout shelter. So he thinks that a nuclear bomb or some kind of huge bomb has been dropped and chaos is occurring up top. So he sets the locks on the fallout shelter, which they have enough supplies to survive for, I think it's like 35 years. So they set, and she's pregnant. So she ends up having a son and raising him up to 35 years old in that fallout shelter. And then once the locks, because it's like the nuclear, I think it's nuclear radiation halftime is 35 years or something. So eventually he goes up into the world, and he meets this really like bratty, like tough chick, who kind of sees that he's this weird dude. She can't quite make out what's going on, but they build up this romantic relationship. But by the end of the film, and I'll just fast forward to that, but by the end of the film, there's this moment where he leaves her. It's, oh my God, it gives me goosebumps. But he calls her to give her one last message, because she had him tried to get him put in a psychiatric clinic because she was noticed, because he had said something to her that freaked her out, because he said, like, you know, and my dad said if I find a nice healthy girl up here, just to bring her on down. And he explains that he grew up in this shelter.
I love that movie.
Yeah, and oh my God. So he explains this to her. She gets these psychiatrists to come to the house that are saying, you know, it's best for us, for you to come with us. And then he runs away. And he, you know, he's in this like mass confusion, because he grew up on like only the ideas of love that he got from his parents and through little pieces of cinema and just ideological conversations with his dad. So he's just got this cacophony of weird shit where he doesn't quite understand reality from an experiential sense, but he understands like, you know, definitionally as good as you can understand what love is. That's kind of the struggle for him. So at the end, he leaves this really heartfelt message on her machine, and it's basically like, I just want the best things to happen for you, the very best things, and that's all. And he leaves that message. But meanwhile, as he's leaving that message on the phone, she is driving out with her friend trying to look for him, because she's finally realized that she's deeply in love with him. And while she's driving in slow motion, I'm going to post this scene, by the way. I'll post it in Artistic Inspiration. But while he is calling. She is driving around the area, and she's basically put all of these things together to kind of infer where he could be. And she ends up driving by and seeing him leaving the phone booth, and it's all happening in slow motion, and she calls out to him. She's like, Adam, and there's like this orchestration that happens, this piece of music when they come together and embrace, and it's like that's my favorite romantic scene in film. Well, there you go.
I think I've seen that before. I'm gonna have to rewatch that. Interesting. You can hear the passion that you have for that movie, Pangburn.
Ever since I was young, like I always looked at that and I was like, I want to feel that way. Like I want to feel that way about someone. I want to have that kind of story. Like I really liked the story.
Yeah, that's a good one. That would not have been one on my list for romantic movies. Or
I'm gonna write this down. Blast from the past.
I know that's what I just did.
I'll just say as you wish.
Oh gosh, seriously?
As you what? As you wish?
Okay.
As you wish.
Here comes the debate.
Princess Bride. Men love that, and I think it's just because it's Robin Penn.
Ew.
What?
What, Ola?
Robin Penn, right? Isn't she in it? And she's stunning, and that's why they like it. No?
I don't know.
It's got action, it's got comedy, it's got romance.
Yeah, but we're talking not about. It doesn't matter about the comedy. What is the romantic bit? Like I picked up from Pangburn, and he'll say it's wrong, or something, because I'm always wrong. But I picked up from Pangburn. He likes the idea that there's two out for each other, out looking for each other, and they don't even know they're out looking for each other, and then they find each other, and that's
it's kind of like unrequited love, but it actually is requited. I think it's overcoming this obstacle to get the love back.
I feel very unromantic because I can't think of a movie.
I can think of a lot of bad romantic movies that I've seen.
I can think of loads of romantic movies, but it's the men. I want to know what the men's are. But mine are The Goodbye Girl and Enough Said. They're basically the same movie. And that'll do.
I did like The Goodbye Girl, and you're the one that turned me on to it, Ola.
Yep, everyone should love it, even the boys.
Yeah, we'll check it out. No, my favorite romantic movie is definitely Ghost.
Ghost, yes.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I
Ghost
love that.
is a good one. Ghost is a good one.
I don't know. I just love the lengths that Patrick Swayze has to go to save Molly, and it's like what he's really doing is he's trying to relieve himself so that he can, shuffle off this mortal coil and go to paradise or whatever. But in order to achieve that nirvana that he's looking for, he has to save Molly. Just really.
So it's romantic to save the princess.
Sure, yeah.
Okay,
and
so
Berg is funny.
I think I'd go with Your Name, which is a animated movie. It's so wonderful, so beautiful.
Your Name?
Yes, there's the two wake up in each other's bodies and switch places back and forth, but their memory is kind of imperfect, so they're leaving notes on their phone and on their bodies for each other, and writing things like "Don't do this" or whatever. So they get to know each other by literally being in each other's shoes, and so from that they fall in love, and he finally finds out that there's a difference, not just in distance from where they are, but in time. So that adds to it. It's a very beautiful.
Have you ever seen?
Oh, sorry.
What's it called, actually?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Have you ever seen Voices from a Distant Star?
I think so.
It's only like a 25-minute anime short, but I really loved it. It's like these two teenagers where one of them goes to live on like another planet, and so time dilates differently, and so every time she sends him a text message, like it's only been a week for her, but he keeps growing older and older. Has to wait years for the next text message, wait 10 years for the next text message.
Oh no, that's kind of like, it reminds me of another one, Time Traveler's Wife. That one was really beautiful, but also hard to watch in a way. It's just so sad. So
I also I also just have to throw in there two more. So number one, in the Disney realm, in the animated realm, Beauty and the Beast has always been that for me. One of the most romantic shows of like protecting a woman, which can be, I think, for some people a very romantic feeling. But when the Beast, when Belle runs away from the castle, and she gets basically her and her horse get taken down and surrounded by the wolves. One of my favorite fucking scenes that gets my passion pumping. Like when I was young, when I watched this, I really wanted to be the Beast in that situation. He shows up out of nowhere when the wolf finally is about to pounce on Belle, and he grabs that first fucking wolf and pulls it up to his face and just roars right in his face. And then he fights off all the wolves, almost dying, but protected, this woman that he cares about. So I have to outline that moment. And then just one more, Moulin Rouge.
Because you're a theater guy.
Of course. Come what may.
One of the greatest movies of all time.
Come
It
what
is a good
may.
movie.
Yeah. So the love story there, and not just there's a lot of different romantic things that happen in that movie, and romantic writings and sayings. But when Toulouse screams at the end of the film, when Ewan McGregor's character Christian has come out in front of the audience and thrown his money down at oh my god, I wanted to call her Christine Daae from Phantom of the Opera, but that's not her name in the movie. It is someone help me out here. What's her name? Her name is
Coquette, Lynette. I don't know.
No,
like
it's I gotta get it. I gotta get it now. I'm gonna waste all this airtime until we get it. I don't even want to.
No, you're not.
Shit.
We'll call her Coquette.
It'll come. No, it'll come to me. Just wait.
Someone Google it.
It's right there.
Satine. Her name is Satine. Okay. So Satine, he's walking away from Satine. He's already paid her whore. And then then Toulouse, who is played by John Leguizamo, falls and catches himself his way up in the gantry, and he yells out, "The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return." And that stops Ewan McGregor in his tracks. He turns around, and then he remembers that "Come What May," the song he wrote for this musical, was about however bad anything gets, that one thing that will not be destroyed is their love. And then he turns around and comes back to her. So yeah, I just wanted to outline those two films as well.
I'm getting more of that star-crossed lover thing, and I'm really interested that I think men but so far men like to save women.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that's actually why I was noticing a theme here in I was like Ghost, and then what's the other one that I really loved? English Patient. And what do I love about it? The scene where he has to trek across the desert for 3 days to try to rescue her. And then it all comes down to the moment when he finds this camp of soldiers, and they ask him what his name is. And he has an ethnically ambiguous name. So he has to guess which nationality they want him to be so that they don't arrest him.
And I just want to outline that I think Blast from the Past escapes that, because really the character that Alicia Silverstone plays, Eve, and they're both Adam and Eve, Eve actually is the savior of the man in that film. So so those roles are reversed. And I think there is something incredibly romantic to me of like the woman taking that initiative, and she's the one out hunting to like, you know, save him from going back down underground and never coming back up. You know, it's I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I've never watched Blast from the Past, but I can't think of a movie where that's the case. Like, I can't think of one where the woman goes and saves the man.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. That made me start thinking also. I really can't. Can you, Ola?
I'm gonna take that as a challenge and find out. Some people say Meghan saved Harry. The only time that she married a prince and saved him and ran off with him, you know. So maybe there's a real life one happening.
Yeah, so that and maybe that's something I like about Blast from the Past. Like maybe that's why it draws me to it. I will throw The Mummy in there as well with Brendan Fraser.
Come on, you can't have them all. They're not all romantic. The Mummy isn't a romance, surely.
Sure it is. Sure it is. I love the relationship between you know, Brendan Fraser's character and her name, Evie is her name in that movie. I think that's an incredibly romantic relationship. Basically, you know, and here's one of the moments when he's just like that dirty like prisoner who's about to be hung at the beginning of the movie, and then she pays the money to save him because he knows the location of Hamunaptra. And I like that part when he gets all cleaned up, and she's like thinking she has this vision of this brute, and then she's like, oh damn, this guy ain't no brute.
Well, I'm just going to stir the shit up a tiny bit and say, actually, maybe most of the films, the woman has already saved the man. So there's this guy, he's going on with his life normal, and then this woman walks by, and suddenly you make me want to be a better man. And he's saved already. And now the whole thing is about him saving her. So that's like as good as it gets. She saved him. It looked like he was saving her, but she saved him.
Oh, yeah, she totally saved him. I mean, and then I don't know, but does he save her afterward? I mean, no. I mean, he's just kind of a nuisance. Like, I'm actually surprised that they get together at the end.
Well,
like, I think to myself, she doesn't deserve her. He's in erotic putts.
But that's an exaggeration of a lot of films. A lot of films have the woman walks past. She's so beautiful. She makes him want to be a better man. She tidies up his apartment. Suddenly he's living a nice life, a nice organized life. You know, he sits around waiting to be saved in a lot of those films. And I think that reflects a tiny bit in life as well. I see women trying to sort out their boyfriends, tidy them up, whatever it is. And I think the boyfriends kind of like it. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, what happens with those guys that resist the tidying?
Yeah. I get them. They're
on Reddit and incel groups.
They never get their they never get their shit together. That's what happens.
Yeah, I was also going to throw one more into the mix, Barney's Version, starring Paul Giamatti. This is a tale of all of these amazing women that really care for this man that come into his life, and he is just an utter piece of shit. That's the story. He's an utter piece of shit that he has had women that are way too amazing for him and way too like they just take such good care of him, and he just pisses it all away and then gets dementia. That's basically the story. But you will notice in that film there's a lot of themes that aren't that aren't I think played with much in cinema, where he's very much the troubled dude that has all these great women coming to save him all the time. So you get a lot of different versions of that.
Interesting. Does anyone else have a romantic movie that has been that they can think of that's been influential in their life?
I have maybe unconventional, I suppose. One is a bit of a ripoff from Travis, but I really like Phantom of the Opera. Musical over movie, though. Musical's better. But I love that story, and I do think to your earlier point, that is one where she saves him very well. But probably one of my favorite movies ever is The Locket from 1946. Really old, but excellent. Those who aren't familiar with it, basically, there's this woman. She's functionally a kleptomaniac and kind of emotionally disturbed and other things, but she goes through all these different relationships with all these men, and it's told through flashback as each of these guys, after they have a relationship with her, they go seek out the next guy and inform him, hey, this is what you don't know, kind of thing. Throughout the way it's told in the flashbacks and these conversations between these men, like, it's really clear how much they all still desperately love her, even though she basically left them with nothing.
Wow, that sounds really good.
In a bad way left them, or like she needed to move on, kind of? Like, did she fuck him as she went and they still love her, or is it amicable terms as they left?
She had full relationships with these men and then stole their most valuable possessions.
And then they still love her after that?
And they still, like, and I like that there's a complexity to the emotion of, like, there's a little bit of loathing, like, how could she do this to me? But also, like, wow, really liked her, though.
I really like that she dominated me like that.
And then
Alexander, there's a modern day version of that movie, and I can't think of what it's called.
It's called Divorce Court. It's the modern day version.
Hey, remember that's switched around for me there. But yeah, interesting. You know what I'm like seeing right now is like taking all of these movies and doing like a watch party. That would be interesting.
I'm up for that.
Very fun.
I'm pretty new to the room, so I don't know if anyone said it already, but Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind was one of my favorites.
That's a wonderful, wonderful movie. Yeah, that's a beautiful one.
What's it about? I've never heard of it.
Oh, Doll, take it away.
Basically, I mean, I haven't seen the movie in a while, but basically, Jim Carrey had a girlfriend and they had a breakup, and there's this
Kate Winslet. Yo, you have to say it's Kate Winslet, bro. It's the most perfect woman in the world.
You know, I was pretty young when I saw this, so I don't even remember anyone but Jim Carrey.
Oh my gosh, how do you forget Kate Winslet? Anyway.
Well, because I'm a Jack fan and fuck her.
But there's this new experimental thing where they can erase memories, and so it's all told backwards. So the whole story is like you get a piece from the beginning and a piece from the end, and it kind of clues you together as it goes on. But yeah, so they both end up erasing their memories, and then they see each other again, and it's just about like how they still needed each, even though they broke up and had this big falling out, they still needed to have that relationship because it made them who they were. And so when they took away those memories, like they ended up like searching each other out, and that's pretty much it.
Oh, it's an amazing. I love that film so much. So most of the film takes place inside Jim Carrey's head as he's getting his memory erased of his relationship with Kate Winslet. And so as his memories are getting erased, he's in his head and slowly realizing, wait, I don't want my memories to be erased of her. I love her. You know, so he's trying, like, in his own in his subconsciousness, he's trying desperately to like hide away a memory of her so that he can find her again when this procedure is
linking memories, building a mind palace, and utilizing other memories to stack them. That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, he's really trying to, but there are these like scientists that are like, you know, they're working on their computers and they're like working on his brain outside. They're like, oh, where is he going? He's not going to hide. Like, oh, there he goes. Like, you can't hide this. You can't hide this memory.
Okay,
that's kind of what I've been going through, restructuring my thought processes lately.
Jim Carrey's at his best too, so the it's just really good. I recommend.
slightly different, but that reminds me of Flowers for Algernon. Or I think the
Oh.
movie is Charlie, but also great about
Never
guy
saw
losing.
that movie. Read the book.
That's a good movie too.
Yeah, the movie was pretty good. One of my favorite stories ever.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Has anyone ever seen the movie Roman Holiday?
No.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it's from the 50s. It's with Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn. And Audrey Hepburn is a princess that is like fed up with the princess life, and so she escapes from her palace one night, and like she meets Gregory Peck, who's a journalist doing a story on her, but she doesn't know that. She just thinks that he's an average Joe, and they just have a really romantic day together before she's eventually recaptured by her father and mother and brought back to the palace. But just for like those few hours, they just have a wonderful time. And then, I think that was a very romantic movie. I don't want to give away the ending, but yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful one.
More people need to live with days like that snuck into their daily lives. Sneak out days are fun.
Mr. Deeds. It's a good romance.
I'm kind of digging this conversation about movies right now, and I'm like, do I really want to like deflect back to the romance question? Since
I want to hear what I like hearing the romantic bits, Zombie, but you didn't tell us what your romantic movie is.
I literally I feel like this is one of those moments that I am like a dude. Sorry. I can't think of a freaking romantic movie that I like.
Well, that's nothing like a dude. All these dudes here have named you. We couldn't stop.
I know. No,
he's still naming them. We just had to mute him.
I can't think. I think women are not as romantic. Maybe.
I agree.
And I
haven't ever had flowers bought for me. Women suck.
Well, I never bought
flowers actually.
Well, I think.
Well, I remember.
Come on.
My
the eloquent, articulate.
I wouldn't want flowers bought for me. Now, if you wanted to buy me a plant, I'd be good with that. But don't buy me flowers because they die.
How about picked flowers? No? Oh, they die. No, probably not.
How about that's what I mean. Like
here, have some beheadings from me.
Yeah. Hey, they're penises. The flowers are the penises of the plant. So you're really giving.
I want a live penis. Yeah, you're right. I want a live one. I don't want a dead, flaccid flower. Sorry. Why does it always go there with me?
I think I did
Determinism.
it. Determinism. You are it's fate. Fated.
So I would then kind of garner that we need love for romance. Do you think you can have romance without love?
Well, that's a different question. If we're talking about romantic things, that's just things that lend towards romance, right? But that doesn't necessarily dictate.
I'm not talking about things because I think that women, or in general, because I don't want to, like Pangburn said, get into a straw man, but that women may have a different definition of romance as romance is a feeling versus an action.
I agree. That's why I said most people didn't like my most romantic, or didn't necessarily agree with it.
Well, repeat yourself, because I don't know if anybody like disagreed with most romantic that I.
The romantic time that was asked yesterday or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of the one that you spouted off this. I said the most romantic time I've had in my life was when I was standing on a mountain in Afghanistan looking at the stars and out over a valley. And it was just me and the Milky Way. And that felt romantic to me.
Yeah, I don't think that you necessarily do you need another person involved to have romance?
I didn't think so, but it was questioned, I believe. I
Oh,
think we got as far as that. I don't think we got the answer to it yet.
interesting.
It depends a lot on the definition of romance and your individual concept of romance. Because, like, I feel like I could be like, I think there's an argument to be made for romance without love, but it would basically be like a lustful, intricate one night stand or something where you like meet in a hotel bar or something weird.
Yeah, I don't think you can do romance without another person, but I think you can have romantic times without another person.
Yeah, you can feel like
Something can be
feel
described
romantic.
as romantic, but I don't think you're going to do romance unless you're
What
dealing
about
with
the
Pamela Henderson or something.
what about the art, like the artistic romance? Like that's like the complete opposite thing that we're talking about, but it's still romance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess what depends on what you mean by the artistic, because I know that if we're talking about erotica anyway, I mean, erotica is mostly woman. Erotica is it can be artistic, it can be eloquent, it can be poetic, I guess, but it's mostly a woman's game, isn't it? And, you don't see many men trying to go for fantasizing about going for Anastasia Steele.
Pornhub disagrees with you.
Well, that's different. That's a different medium. That's not written.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, like dragging it out and yeah, you don't see a lot of that.
Yeah. So, like, men are not going to care so much about reading about the inner goddess and sentence after sentence about the inner goddess and how the inner goddess is singing to me. My inner goddess has stopped dancing and is soothing me and blah.
Was that? I'm curious though. Would that be more of just how do you find your philosophy, where men are more direct discussing it, women look for more
Metaphorical language,
metaphorical or story driven language to find it? Maybe.
Well, I was actually talking to Ola about this once, and I was like, if we wanted to, there's a reason why we can't explain what women want in men in a textbook or in some self-help guide. You need to like write a novel. You need to be able to tell a story with like archetypal characters to be able to explain what women want, because it's something that doesn't really lend itself well to like a bullet point list.
Right.
Well, and don't you think it's very subjective? I mean, each individual is going to have their own bullet point list if they really had one.
That's true.
I was trying to do a little bit of research to see if there were any like scientific data on romance and the difference between what men and women how they perceive romance. And there was a study done where they talked about you need 3 elements for romantic love, and that was lust, attraction, and attachment. And like I guess I'm
in that order.
No, you didn't have to have it in that order, but I think that you have to have the 3 elements to equal romantic love. And like, is there a point where you are constantly just having the lust and attraction, but you maybe because you aren't capable or you're putting up walls not to reach that level of attachment, you'll never kind of gain that romantic love.
Yeah, that kind of lends itself well to the thing that people talk about with passionate love versus companionate love. Now, passionate love dies out after about 18 months or so, when you're all on fire and wanting to jump each other's bones and staring into each other's eyes and not getting anything done because you just desire each other so intensely.
Right.
And then slowly the companionate love, which is the more long-term, I trust this person, I can rely on them, they're there for me, that you build up, which is kind of like a lower gradient over a longer period of time. But what I would want to ask in response to that, because people are like, well, see, in the long term, the companionate love is preferable. But I guess what I would ask is, well, then why don't I just do a bunch of passionate loves? Why don't I just, do one passionate, go zooming up for 18 months and then go down and then zoom up another passionate love?
There's plenty of people that do.
No, because I think the men would do that more than the women, because the women have got, very generalized overall as a group, the women have got higher attachment hormones, I'll call them, and the men have higher lust hormones, so there's a mismatch there. But I think the men are romantics. All of them are looking to rescue someone and happy ever afters. So that's part of the lust, is you want someone new, you want someone to fancy, but there has to be a thing that maybe that'll be the person as well. Maybe that's the soul that's been looking for you all along. That has to be there in the background too, I think. The romance, no? You get very, if all it was just passion and you win every year.
Would you?
Yes.
I think you would.
Passion fatigue. Marvel fatigue. We're sick of Marvel.
I would, yeah.
I mean, if we can't enjoy something that varied.
Jordan Peterson, when a woman tries to tell you she's not attracted to you, she's basically telling you that your genetics aren't worthy of passing on to the next generation.
Oh my God.
But I think that in my experience, I agree with you. Men are romantic, and I think that women, in my experience, underestimate the degree to which men are romantic. If you hear a woman say something like, "Oh, men only want one thing, and it's disgusting," and men just want to use. I mean, yes, okay, there's these fuckheads like that, but I think that a lot of the men that I meet are actually would be very emasculated. I've said this before. Would be very emasculated if a woman that they liked only wanted them for sex. They would be like, what am I to you? They wouldn't like it as much as they might think they might.
Well, I think they would like it, but not all the time. I think they would like, they're not complete bimbos. But I think men would like if women were just attracted to their bodies more. I think men would like that a bit more. I think it is, and just the way women would like if men were a little bit more. I don't want to say commitment-wise, because that's a cliche, but a little bit more interested in attachment. But men have still got the romantic side, but I don't think. I don't think they would. I think they do want women to fancy them just for their bodies as well. Come on.
well, somewhat aspect of it, yeah. But I mean, you wouldn't want. I don't know men that would want. I mean, yeah, it would be nice. Like I know a guy. I have one friend who's a bodybuilder who is the only man I've ever met in my life, where it's happened multiple times, where we're walking down the street and a girl comes up to him and asks for his number or gives her number, gives him her number. And it's just like that is a sign of such power that occurs to a man that is 1 in 1,000. Like that is.
Well, I would disagree because there are plenty of people that understand the necessary work that goes into that. Like when I see a chick that's super fit, I don't like her because she's got big tits and a little waist. I like her because of the dedication she's put into herself. I'm attracted to skinny, fit, low body fat because of the amount of dedication that they felt they were important to have. I want to try to siphon that off into myself. And
I find that an unappealing characteristic for exactly what you're describing.
When you don't want her to be dedicated to something,
puts hours of dedication into themselves.
No, but that's what I'm talking about. I think someone that spends hours of dedication making themselves look good fundamentally has nothing interesting to talk about.
Okay. There's a little bit of a difference between what I'm talking about between someone who wants to be booty famous on Instagram and a legit bodybuilder, like I think Eliyahu was kind of describing.
This guy I'm talking about doesn't have any social media.
Yeah, no,
and
no,
like
but
15,
think about the dedication it takes, right? Like my cousin was dating this martial arts guy, and he was in the top weight category, and he had to have a serious diet to maintain weight. And he wouldn't drink alcohol. He was completely dedicated to his profession. He looked fucking fantastic, but like I mean, you go to a party and you wouldn't be able to like socialize with anyone because he's not drinking. And well, not specifically he's not drinking, but like you can't even go to a restaurant with him because like he'll bring his like steamed chicken, rice, and broccoli because he like very much to survive.
This is who I'm talking about too. My guy too. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the sort of
I'm about to start
dedication
getting
and
back into that
focus
stuff.
time that takes up, I think, just makes you a boring individual because it takes so much
deniability.
dedication.
I'm about to start getting into that. So having someone to work alongside me with that, so that I have someone to talk to, would be a bonus. That's
right. That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna be like, look,
I enjoy it. That's why it's something I look for.
It's like it's
not a bad quality. It's not one you appreciate.
No, but
it's not long. It's not necessarily long lasting. It's not necessarily long lasting. I mean, I've been there where I've worked out super hard for a number of years and felt like I'm
not talking about just workout. I'm talking about the guy that what I think Eliyahu's talking about.
No, it's a
dude who
lifestyle.
and that's what I'm talking about. Like chick that goes to the thing for 1 hour a week, or 1 hour a day, and half the time she's taking booty pics, and that's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the dedicated top 1% of their field type of person that I'm listening to Steve Jobs, or I'm listening to them. Those kinds of people are who.
That's why I said it's not for someone who's like really into working out and getting ready for like a bodybuilding show. I've got a friend who actually he holds bodybuilding shows and keep the convo up. I'm getting a work call.
I'd like to hear some more stories about what's romantic, like what films are romantic. And I'm asking men, Notting Hill, Serendipity. Any Woody Allen films are romantic?
If you're asking which films have helped me close the best versus I don't know.
I'm asking what's romantic. What is romance in a film or out of a film? But I'm trying to find out what men think romantic is, or what they find honestly romantic.
You don't want my answers then.
Yeah, I don't know Deniabilities or Scott's.
I'm trying, honestly, like romance is just always something that you expected to provide as a man. Never really factored in what I would expect because, in all honesty, it's not offered.
But romantic is a two-way thing, no? It's a romantic happening isn't just one person giving and one person receiving, is it?
Not in my lived experience. It's generally part of the South African culture that it's man's expected to make all first moves and do all these things. And like, I mean, you take Valentine's Day for an example, right? Never have I had an experience of someone doing a Valentine's Day for me. I do a Valentine's Day for them,
And but can I just ask, would you like if someone did that for you?
I don't know. I've never experienced it. It's like I'm legitimately trying to think about what I find romantic, but it's never something I've thought about because it's never something that's been offered.
Well, when you plan on doing something romantic, what do you put out? If not, what would receiving be romantic for you? What do you do to be romantic when giving romance?
It depends on the type of person. I personally enjoy couples cooking courses. Like a lot of food and a lot of cooking. So yeah.
And why is that romantic?
I think making food for someone, especially really good food, because it takes time and care and patience and a high degree of precision to provide multiple levels of flavor, and it's probably the strongest neurochemical release in the brain, seconded only to sexual orgasm. Like to eat good food when you're hungry, it produces the same sort of neurochemical soup in your brain, as it were. So I think it is quite literally the closest thing you can get to romance without doing sex, you know?
Well, you've got sex and romance is the same thing there.
I meant like it's the closest thing you can get to an intimate sort of experience with another individual, other than having sex with them. It's cooking good food for them. Well, they get the experience, as it were.
So, did any of you see what I posted, which is some Jordan Peterson stuff?
Gordon Peterson.
Gordon Peterson. You know Gordon Peterson. But did you get a chance to have a quick look at it? So I'll read it here. Men use the image of female perfection to motivate themselves. It is biological. It's not that men want to possess and control. Men often see a goddess-like perfection in women, overlooking many of their flaws, and use this as motivation to better themselves and to make themselves worthy.
Well.
And then he goes on. Yeah, and ladies, we know you're not a princess in a high tower that just needs to be rescued to have your love. But with all of your love stories and romantic novels, have you ever stopped to think that perhaps men find slaying the dragon and rescuing the princess to be romantic?
Mm-hmm.
Chivalry, it's a story old as time. Mario and the Princess Peach. And you might think, well, chivalry is dead. Then please stop killing it. There are his quotes.
Nice to be needed, but chivalry, I think, stems from something that men are not allowed to explore more and more in modern society. I think chivalry fundamentally comes from men exploring their physical prowess through often boxing and wrestling. They seem to be fairly good sports for men to learn to control their violent impulses. And I think only once a man can do that can he approximate anything coming close to true gentlemanly behavior and chivalry.
You must be a warrior.
That's not true at all. Because I haven't stepped in a ring once in my life, and I don't believe that chivalry is dead.
I would say that's a gross overestimation. That battle needs to be physical.
Yeah.
It's more a commentary on you need to go through hard times to harden your resolve against discomfort.
So like Aaron, it's not to say that you have to do like boxing or something like that, but what a man finally needs to do is find a state of physical security and competence, so that he doesn't feel physically insecure. And if a man doesn't feel physically insecure, then he's capable of displaying more tender emotions. But when a man is physically insecure, I would put the argument forward that he becomes weak. And when a man is physically insecure and weak, that's when they show a less appealing side of themselves, I think.
Well, Aaron, what do you think?
Sure.
So, I mean, Aaron,
you don't want to know what I think.
No, we do. We really do. Go on. What do you think?
course I feel insecure. I'm fat and ugly. Not really.
By whose standard?
By my standard.
Well, then change your standard.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to change my body. Not really.
What would be romantic for you?
That romance is a word that means absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Doesn't mean a damn thing. It's like beauty. It's whatever the hell you want it to mean. Anything could be romantic with the right person.
Yeah.
This is true. I mean, I'm personally sapiosexual, so I don't look for looks. I look for like intelligence and conversation, and that's.
I look
really
for looks as well as all of those things, because you can be the nicest, most intellectual person on planet Earth, but if I'm not attracted to you, we'll only ever be friends.
No, but for me, the attraction comes from the intellectual stimulation more than anything else, because looks and body that fades, and fundamentally, I am looking for a long lifetime partner, and realistically, everyone's got about 15-20 years of good looks in them, and then stuff starts to sag, and gray hairs come, people get old. Yeah, but on aggregate, most people don't take care of themselves on the level.
No,
I mean, you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, like that guy's like what, almost like 65, 70, somewhere around there, but he looks like late 40s, you know, like he's super fit. But I'm not quite sure I'm willing to go.
Terry Crews would be a better example.
I'd give you early 50s. But yeah, I get your point.
But I'm not quite sure that that's the life I want for myself. You know, that takes so much dedication that you arguably miss out on other parts of life. Like when I was in school, I was on the first team swim team, and I qualified for South African Junior Olympic, the South African Junior Olympic team. But I chose not to go that route because I was already at the point where I was swimming 2 hours in the morning and 2.5 hours in the evening, and I was on a special diet to make sure I got all the right nutrition because I was expending so many resources that I was just like, I'm missing out on birthday parties and friendship relationships, and you pretty much miss out on life. That's why I think like when I see a chick that looks really good, I know that's a 4 to 5 hour day commitment, and that means that's 4 to 5 hours a day that you're not spending on things that are making you an interesting person.
Also, to piggyback,
I don't understand that mentality at all.
A thought that I've had recently as I contemplate how I'm going to lose weight is I've said that I intend to lose weight and not be fat anymore, but I don't intend to be super muscular because it's highly impractical for the amount of work that it takes. I sit on my ass and drive a truck. What the hell am I going to do with big muscles? I'm not going to go lifting cars. Not really.
That's not why you get big muscles. Like,
that's not
well, why do you then?
To show them off.
But Aaron, it's so simple. Like
a lot of people use it. A lot of people use getting big muscles as like their mind palace. Like each rep they do, they're working out a personal issue that they're working on.
Yeah.
And they can look back at their body and be like, "Hey, look, that's how much work I've put into my mental health. That's why I have puzzles and Minecraft and all kinds of stuff, all that stuff. Like, you guys are acting as if everybody works out for the same reason you would work out. Different people do things for different reasons.
I would say
working out the way bodybuilders do, that's not a waste of their
Bruno
life.
Speak for a second there.
That's
Bruno
their choice.
Bruno, are you trying to get in there?
Yeah, I was going to say I work out, but I don't work out sort of for the aesthetic reasons like Desire said, the exact same reason. It's like a mental sort of space where you sort of, just, it's, for me personally, would be a way to sort of get the aggression, get everything out, right? And another thing is, like Desired said, deniability. With the if you get into, if you're committed to sports, so that's another reason I work out, because of just to get that out, get that sort of mental whatever, like Desired said. So it's not for the aesthetics. Of course, the aesthetics are a benefit, perhaps, but it really isn't.
I fully support a balanced exercise regime, and I exercise to get stress, emotions, and anger and aggression out as well. But like I'm talking more about the people that are dedicating 4 to 5 hours a day, no matter whatever it is, in the gym, looking in front of the mirror, just you're taking 4 to 5 hours out of your day to dedicate to your looks and to your body.
So,
and even if you're just thinking from a healthy perspective, it just means that you're not developing characteristics that I would find interesting. So,
okay.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
You don't find them interesting.
Yeah,
That doesn't.
that's
That's
you
what's
though.
been so uncomfortable about the whole thing is you haven't been flavoring. You've been kind of approaching working out shouldn't be done because I don't like it. That's how I've taken it. It's not as good because you don't become a good, well-rounded person by working out a lot. And I'd say, yeah, you do.
I never said that. What I specifically said is that it's like super good-looking woman that are super skinny and everything's in the right place. I understand how much work that takes to achieve that. And if they're spending 4 to 5 hours investing in achieving that, then I personally don't find them an interesting person. That's why when I see that, personally, it doesn't attract me because I go, I'm not going to.
I know what deniability means.
A conversation with this person.
Yeah, I know what he means actually, but I just want to say, not every woman that looks good or has a fit body has put in like 4 hours, and some people just sort of have it. They've hit the lottery in genetics, So, but I get what you mean, though. There are, some people who put like 4 or 5 hours in. Fine, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah.
It's like when you see people with crazy hairdos, and you're like, I look at them, I go, you get up and probably spend 45 minutes in the morning to do your fucking hair. I look at that and go, what a fucking waste of time.
Yeah, well, I started a rule that I wouldn't go out with anyone who had better hair than I did. And my hair was okay. Some days it was really great, and some days it was a bit lousy, but I never really did much with it. It was like, get up in the morning, brush it, that'd be about it. And I didn't want to go out with someone who was spending 3/4 of an hour getting the gel in right. And so that was a rule I genuinely had, or developed after a while, is, if their hair is taking longer than my hair in the morning, no thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. But I mean, these are the circles. These are the kinds of circles that you have to surround yourself with. So the guy that I was talking about before, who's a bodybuilder, and he had the same thing that deniability was talking about, with where he's not going to eat at a restaurant unless he knows the exact calorie count. So the only place that he can go to is Subway, where he knows the calories of everything. Otherwise, he's too scared to like eat out somewhere. It's like, I actually got Panera Bread with him one time, and he's eating like a salad and a sandwich, and like some of the dressing from the sandwich leaks out, and he's like lapping up the dressing. And I look over at him, and he's like a dog, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, all the nutrition facts aren't right if I don't eat all of it. I'm like, dude, it's like you've never been in public before.
Well, but you also have to think that's a very complicated thing he's doing. What he's doing with the macros is so specifically calibrated to make something very particular that stuff like that can throw off his mood, a lot of things. So it can get a little worrisome doing that.
Yeah, so it was hard for him to find a girlfriend for a while, but he finally has a girlfriend now that he's been dating for like a year that is the exact same way. And so I'm like, well, that's good for him that he has some same type of circle.
The thing we all have to keep in mind here is that I've said it before, and I'll say it until I'm 6 feet under. There was a point in human history where if you weren't fit, you didn't survive.
Yeah.
If you weren't fit enough to chase down and slaughter your own food, you starved to death. So I don't think that and clearly as a species, we haven't moved on far beyond that in certain aspects. Now, just to quickly say this, my whole point with the bodybuilder idea is, first of all, bodybuilders are hot, and me being bisexual, it's eye candy. But my whole thing is, it's like, okay, you can say I exercise for my mental health. Good for you. I would like to think that maybe that would work for me. And I'm glad I got on this call, because maybe exercising would help my mental state. But setting that aside, all I'm saying is, if you're going to build muscles like that.
Ooh,
Oh, you're breaking up.
We're losing you, Aaron. You're breaking up. You'll have to come back to us, and we're still waiting to hear what your favorite romantic movie is.
Yeah, you said if you're gonna build up muscle like that, ...
And then you ran off.
Yeah.
Come back and tell us.
Not really. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, I just don't believe in putting any effort for something like that. If there is going to be some time, sure, I want to lose weight so that I look better and I feel attractive again. But if I'm going to build muscle, I want to do something with it. I want to make those muscles that I had to work for work for me.
Well, they
That's
might
just
save your
one man's
life.
viewpoint.
That's all we
They
can
might.
offer.
Yeah, you're
One
right.
thing
I was gonna
I
say,
want to point out is that for a lot of those guys that do the bodybuilding like that,
it's a
that is
sport.
their marvel or their, whatever. Like when people have stuff, I could go on and I've watched every episode of Doctor Who and stuff like that. Instead of watching Doctor Who and watching all the breakdowns and all the quiz shows, they're going and working out and working on macros and, planning out what muscles they want to do next and stuff like that. So it's like, it's just a lot of.
It's a hobby that I find boring.
I was gonna say it's some people it's a sport. Like I live with a guy, he works out like hell, and it's a sport for him, and it's it's all right. It's an aesthetic sport, if you may, right? So I don't have a problem with it. I work out, but I don't work out to get that big, right? But yeah,
Well, there is a darker side that ought to be recognized as well, because turns out men suffer from body disorders, body dysmorphia disorders, just as much as women do. With women, it takes the form of anorexia and bulimia. With men, it takes the form of bodybuilding. And
you can see the other way too. Sort of, Aaron's kind of been hit with that a little bit, but just as an example of, I'm never going to make it to He-Man, so why work out? Kind of mentality, almost.
The darkness, the sort of like sickness I'm talking about, is there are men that have this deep compulsion to work on their bodies because they feel so inferior. I watched an interesting documentary on bodybuilders that are too scared to go show off their bodies on public beaches because they think they're too small. Because when they look in the mirror, the same thing that's happening with an anorexic woman is happening with the man. They look too small in the mirror. It's a mental disease, and this is where their compulsion for bodybuilding comes from.
Well, you're right in that for sure, but it's not.
Oh, sorry, Bruno.
Just wanted to quickly say you're right in that, but it's not every man, right? Like,
fair.
And it's most likely very few men, even, right? And you're right too. I'm going to be honest. There is a pressure really right now. I think for the last probably 2 decades, even, to look a certain way, right? So it's the same thing for women as it is for men. But it doesn't mean that, those who just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, if I pronounce that properly, he worked out 4 hours, 6 hours a day. And he just loved doing it, not to look good, but just to win the, what do you call it again? The Mr. Olympia. So for some people,
Mr. Universe.
Universe, my bad. Yes.
No, he was targeting Olympia back in the 70s.
Yeah, Olympia before Mr. Universe. I think he's the youngest ever. I don't follow that so much.
Well, he was.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Ola.
I was going to say, just because there's a couple of people who haven't come in. That's I see Scott there and ZX Man haven't come in yet. Do you have some? What's your idea of romance? We're talking about a lot there about how bodies look, but before we were talking about more how your heart feels, how sentiment, what gets you all fuzzy, or what gets you dreamy and romantic.
I just joined I'm trying to digest the question a little bit on the stream. So yeah, I need some time. I'll chime in later on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Well, we're just
Cool, cool.
asking. I mean, I asked personally. I asked. You know, I was sort of believing maybe men weren't as romantic as women. Maybe men weren't romantic at all. But immediately, several guys were able to name their favorite romantic films. So it turns out men are romantic. It'd
Oh,
be interesting to
congrats
know.
for you didn't know that.
Yeah. Are you romantic?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. What's your
I
favorite
don't
romantic
know.
movie
I mean,
or favorite thing
I'm
you've ever
I'm
done?
familiar with the literature of Romeo and Juliet and also the Titanic and so on. Those are like interesting. Yeah, but I don't watch romantic movies at all.
Okay. So what's romance for you? What does it mean?
I don't know. You know, spending time with your lover, you know, experiencing new things, fun things, taking care of each other, enjoying life, I would say.
You think it's a mental thing rather than a physical thing?
I would say like it can be both, but I would say mentally first, I would say.
And is that how others think as well? Or are people, because there's a lot of talk, it morphed into physical talk. I would see it as a mental stimulation romance.
Well,
Are
I
most
need to
emotions mental?
understand the definitions of like exactly what do you mean by romance because like I didn't really give it a thought actually, so I'm kind of new to this kind of conversation honestly, but yeah.
I think it depends on the if you're looking for a stand.
But that's not romance, is it? One night stand is that?
Well,
Would you put that under romance?
Some people
I
could think
think
it
you
is.
can have a romantic one night stand, but I wouldn't call a one night stand romantic.
Yeah.
How about you guys define romance for me because I'm not really
some
familiar with
people are
the
just
term
scared of
honestly.
commitment.
I don't think romance
Ooh.
has any definite definition.
Interesting.
That's why I said earlier. That's why I said earlier. It's like beauty. What is beauty? It's different for everyone. There is no universal definition for romance because it's slightly different for everyone, and everybody experiences it slightly differently. It'd be one of those you know it when you see it type deals.
Yeah, you're
I
right,
see.
but you could sort of craft a definition to incorporate all the general ideas of romance. You could.
I mean, it depends. The guy who invented the term romance, what was his intention behind the term and how people used it can shed us some light on how it was defined. We can't just say romance is subjective and has no meaning because we can't really know this. If we talk about romance, it has no meaning. Then what are we talking about exactly? That's my question.
Oh, that's the bigger
It's
question.
love.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the actions and feelings that you associate with love. So you might get
I
into a
see.
romantic situation with someone that you're not in love with, and it could still be a potential romantic situation if you were in love with them. But if you are in love with them, it is suddenly romantic. So bringing flowers to someone that doesn't want you to bring flowers to them, that's not romantic, that's stalking. But bringing flowers to someone who's in love with you is romantic. So
I've got a
it's
definition.
the actions and sentiments involved and surrounding love.
That's fair enough.
I would
You
think.
could say, she's given a definition, never mind then.
But you can give a different one.
It's not mine, it's literally from Google. You could say it's a feeling of excitement and mystery associated with love. It's much like it's the most general idea of it, really. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a good enough description. The dictionary one, we'll take that.
I would go a step further and say that romance could be looked at as the word used to describe the outcome of an intentional act of affection. That most things done out of affection can be considered romantic by the right people. So if you have a girlfriend and you give her chocolates for Valentine's Day or some shit, they say, "Oh, that's how very romantic." You did something of your own volition, not because I told you to, because you care about me and love me and want me to have this. How romantic.
If I told you to lace up your shoes, is that romantic? It's done out of compassion and care.
I mean, it certainly can be. Don't discredit anything regarding humanity. We're that complex.
Could be.
Don't rule it out. That's all I have to say.
What would be the most romantic thing that someone could do for you?
Blowjob.
Oh my god, I must be romantic a lot.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
She's very romantic.
But there you guys go again, saying like romance is an action versus a feeling.
Yeah, like I really struggle to answer the question of like what's my most romantic film, because to me a romantic film is something I use to show romance so that I can get sex.
So that's like literally the opposite of romance for me. That's the opposite of romance. Someone doing something to get sex is the opposite of romance.
No, but like,
well, then romance doesn't exist to you then, because literally everything that men have ever done over the course of history was, in more or less subconsciously, for the fact that they want to get married and have kids. That's what it was always about. That's the primary driver of human men.
Okay, Aaron, that's the long line there. But I think deniability was with the way he presented it there. I was imagining more of a date. Here's some chocolate. Here's some flowers. Here's me saying sweet things to you. Let's go to bed. Whereas, you're doing the long evolutionary look. The long evolutionary look. I would think you're correct, Aaron. But
that's the only way I look at
short
things.
term. Yeah.
but like it expands on to America, and I would just posit that I'm just far more honest. Like at the end of the day, I'm looking for sex, and like,
have you ever been in a romantic relationship?
Well, let me ask you: is it because you're not getting sex? Because what if you're with a woman who is giving you blowjobs every single day and like trying to assault you to get your pants off the minute you walk in the door?
No, but I fundamentally want a certain type of sex, and I've learned that if you treat a woman correctly, and you make her feel love, and you're all romantic with her, then she's much more invigorated in the bedroom, and the sex is that much better. And that's specifically why I engage in the practice of romance, is because I get better sex out of it. If I'm just being honest.
Boy, listening to you talk makes me feel a lot better about being a virgin.
Being a what?
I'm thinking.
Oh.
I'm thinking your idea of romance is my idea of foreplay.
That's how I feel as well, honestly. I don't think this is romance.
I don't think it doesn't sound like it's actually romance, deniability, and that's not to take away from your experience.
It feels manipulative as well.
Yeah, it's something else. It's something else. It's playing a game or whatever, and I'm not dissing it. I'm just wondering if it's romance. I mean, I would put romance a bit more the way Aaron had it.
I'll be honest.
It's anything that excites that feeling of love. Not it's anything that excites it. So it could be like there's that scene in the Woody Allen film Annie Hall, and they're chasing the lobsters around the kitchen, and it's one of the best romantic scenes of all time. And then when they break up, he's trying to chase a lobster on his own, and it's not nearly as much fun because he hasn't got her. And it was romantic because he had her, and there was nothing romantic about trying to kill lobsters, but there was something romantic about being with her, and that's not about sex. That's love.
I've certainly felt that, but like I wouldn't classify that as romance. I'd classify that as love. Like romance is like I said,
can't be forced
something
to
you engage in. And for me, you engage it for the fundamental purpose of sex. I mean, like love is
love
great.
is not an end enough.
I've got a big question on if I've actually experienced love in life. I've had many partners, and I'm trying to look for it, but I'm not quite sure that I found it. But like, at least what I think it is, I think I found. But when you're asking me these questions about all my personal emotions related to this act of romance, it makes me almost feel psychopathic, because
don't feel
I'm
psychopathic
not quite sure what emotions I relate to it. Like it seems like a tool to me.
Oh no, we're only talking about things. Don't feel psychopathic because you have a different way of looking at it, and certainly don't judge your relationship on it. If you're happy and she's happy or he's happy, that's a good relationship, right? Doesn't matter what other people are telling you it should be like.
Yeah.
I
But
figured
I
out.
like mismatch things. Yeah, sorry, go on, Zombie.
No, Ola, I figured out, I think, the last time I can define having a romantic moment.
Yeah.
Do you remember when I told you that I went hiking and I was walking up a muddy hill in shoes that had no traction, and how I fell on my ass in front of my friend?
Yeah.
Okay. And like, I think that we had an act of romance when he was trying to help me up and I kept falling and sliding down this hill because we were laughing so hard, and then like at the end, like, we just had a really passionate kiss, and it was, I felt like that was like this moment that we were really, really connected. And it just
100% agree with you, because I think I even said to you at the time, this sounds like a montage from a romantic comedy.
Oh my
This is,
God, you did.
I think that it's totally agree with you. That's, you found it. That is romance, because it's the feelings. It's the feelings around it, not the what you're going to get out of it. It's the end product itself.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Okay, sorry. I digress.
No,
I totally
you'll
like
hear
went
more of
off.
those stories. I like your romantic stories.
Well, just be glad that you have romantic stories, because that's probably something I'll never experience. For me,
I don't
romantic
agree.
would be if someone, drove me somewhere and said, "Hey, let's go stargazing," and I'm like, "That's awesome."
Oh,
Yeah,
heck yeah.
I agree.
I think that, yes, I do believe if we're going to try and define what romance is, it has to be mutual, or at least
Yes.
it would be certainly easier to identify it as mutual, because even in the story that I just heard, the fact that they were both laughing and then shared a passionate kiss, yeah, that sounds like what I've come to learn romance to be, way more than if he was just trying to help her up and she was the one laughing. That sounds much more like romance to me. So,
Or if he's saying, I better help her up so I can have some sex later. That's not romantic
exactly,
either.
that's not romance. That's quite pathetic, if you ask me.
That's what? I didn't catch
Pathetic.
That. Pathetic.
It's a bit of a waste of experience if
Don't
everything's
knock
about
it
one
if
thing.
you haven't tried it.
No.
Because
Because all you're doing by admitting that you do,
I'm going to be
that
honest.
there are many, many times when you do nice things for women is to get into bed with them. All you're doing is feeding the message that men are dogs. And that's just not, we don't need more fuel for the fire.
I'm going to be
I
honest.
agree.
Hang on. Like, that, I can see how you get there, but don't put words in my mouth. I'll thank you to do that just very quickly. Just because I have this perspective doesn't mean I'm a dog. Like, it depends how you approach the situation. From my perspective,
it's feeding the narrative, is what he said. He didn't say you're a dog. He just said it's feeding the narrative.
This is the thing, right? Like, this is the thing.
But it's a narrative is something that's fundamentally untrue, and I would posit that if most men were truly honest with themselves, they'd discover that most of their actions relate to a fundamental drive for food, shelter, or sex. And as it pertains to women, that drive is
It's all three.
sex.
If you want to move in with them, make them cook for you and sleep with you.
It doesn't
That's
even-
all three. That's the triple whammy.
I don't know how. But the point remains the same. Like, just because I'm capable of honestly reducing my actions to my base drive, which is fundamentally sex, doesn't mean other men are like this. Doesn't mean they're not like this. Like,
yeah, I was going to just. I've actually done what you do, honestly. And it's not that you're actually. It's not that tricking the person. The person actually knows the outcome, which is sex, but you both indulge in that sort of romance, and then it's sex, and then so it's not like you're deceiving the person into bed or anything like that, right? So you can't really say he's a dog, right? So
romance is a key tool in the art of seduction, and the end goal of seduction is sex. I mean,
But is that if you're okay? If we're talking about men and women here, I mean, we might not be, obviously, but I'm going to talk about men and women because I'm a woman and I like men. So if men are saying, well, we do this thing, it's called seduction, we call it romance, it's really about getting someone into bed. And
that's
women are like, I just want to do something romantic after I've slept with him. That's not about getting him into bed, is it? So women seeing romantic as a completely different thing than men are? Or is it just a personality thing, just different personality?
like I'm not
I
even.
think it's a personality thing as well. I think there are certainly men out there that are capable of being romantic without the end objective of sex. Not quite sure what that looks like, but I don't preclude the possibility.
Have you ever had romance after sex? Deniability.
Yes, but that's more often than not followed with more sex after that. So I don't see what we're missing about this. Yeah, at least in my life, romance ends in sex. I don't know how it's like for other people.
So deniability, I'm going to ask you something, and please don't take it as I'm accusing you. It's just a thought experiment. If you found yourself in a position where the person you were in love with, or you, for some reason, couldn't have sex anymore, just couldn't have it at all anymore, or maybe once a year or something, would you still do romantic things with them?
I suppose yes, and that is fundamentally why I'm looking for someone that has interesting characteristics beyond looks, because ultimately looks fade, and I'm looking for that person that I can connect with intellectually, at least for a long-term partner, but not always looking for a long-term partner.
So your romantic thing wouldn't be about sex at that point, would it?
No, but again, then like I feel like we're crossing the boundary into love, and
yeah, well,
I'm
I
not
don't
quite
think
sure
there's
I'm ready to
boundaries.
classify romantic engagements as a love and familiarity in a long-term relationship. There's certainly intimate moments that are pleasurable in a long-term relationship, but I wouldn't say they're necessarily romantic. They fall in
Okay, well,
love.
are you
But
just getting caught up then in the jargon? Because it strikes me it's the same actions. Action one is about getting sex, and action two, it's exactly the same action. It's being witty and charming and bringing them flowers and picking them up out of the mud when they fall in the mud because they're so clumsy. It's doing all those things. But they're not going to sleep with you later. You know that. But you're doing that anyway, and you're enjoying it, right?
yes,
So,
yeah,
so
that for me is love. Like I said, I see romance as a tool in the art of seduction.
You're
it's something I
refusing to
use.
say it's romance. You are refusing to say it's romance if it's love. But I don't think that is. I think the definition you have romance within love. People who have been together for 50 years can have a romantic moment.
I see those as intimate moments.
No, it's romantic. Why are you saying it's not romantic? If the definition of romance is it to excite love, that happens between people who've been together for 50 years. It's not about. It is about love. It's romantic. It's laughing together, sharing a joke together, falling over,
Well,
picking each other up.
the only thing I would say in defense of deniability is I feel like romance is more of a catch-all term for any encounter. While yes, it can happen between people who've been together for 5 decades, I also feel like you can have a romantic a moment with a person you've just gone on a blind date with. And
Sure.
I don't know if you could, in good faith, say that you're in love with a person you've only ever gone on one date with just because it was romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
there's
You're welcome,
another element
deniability.
to it, right? But like, remember, what I'm describing is one of my fundamental drives that can only be satisfied in a relationship with a woman, which is sex. And the thing about being with someone together with someone for 5 decades is after 5 decades, you find yourself a 75-year-old man. I'd wager you'd be lucky if you could get it up once a month at that stage, you know?
Well, you don't really know. I think you don't. We imagine that, but until we get to 75, we don't really know. So
Fair, but like certainly it decreases. Like I'm in my mid-30s now. Like my sexual appetite is certainly
Sorry,
lower than
Zombie?
it was. So it's fair, but like certainly it decreases. Hello.
I think we're getting some feedback from.
Yeah, that was strange.
I think was Zombie
Yes.
trying to talk there.
I just joined in here. I was just wondering if my audio was working.
Yeah, go ahead and finish deniability. Go ahead and finish deniability.
So, yeah. So, I would wager that as you become an older man, because it's certainly been my experience from between the ages of 18 and my mid-30s, that my sexual drive has decreased, and marginally so, but I'd wager by the time I'm 75, 80, even more so, you know? And I'd say that maybe just as you get older, sex becomes less of a drive, and you now have this long-term relationship with someone, and yeah, for sure, romance can become about something else. But for now, major drive of my life is sex.
Unfortunately, it's the drive in mine too. But
it's a drive in all men's
I'm
lives.
I'm not holding my breath.
Whether men want to be honest about it or not, I'd wager it is
Well,
one of their core drives.
look, it's biology, okay? Why do men find certain things about women attractive? Because those are the traits that they think, biologically speaking, will net them the healthiest babies. Why am I a pygophile? Well, for some reasons, but mostly because in my unconscious brain, even though I will never have kids, a woman with a nice waist, my brain looks at it and goes, yeah, she'd bear healthy children. That's kind of, there's this horrible war going on, it seems, between our conscious brains with this modern society and our very primitive selves that we're clearly not going to figure out anytime soon. Because yes, the primary drive of all men is sex, because part of our DNA and part of our hard wiring is reproduce, keep the cycle going. And if there are things that we have to do that, then we're going to do them.
Yeah.
So yes, it is the drive of everything. But you don't have to make that so obvious. Yes, it is the drive.
Well, no, I think you make life complicated.
Nivik is getting feedback here.
Yeah.
I muted him. Nivik, message me whenever you're ready to mute yourself.
Aaron, you raise a very interesting point there. Like, I think life becomes necessarily more complicated if you try to hide it and rationalize away your base needs. I think life is far simpler if you recognize you have these base needs and you choose to be effective in procuring them, because then you have time to develop more interesting characteristics, as it were, instead of spending your time in this frustration, wondering what you want and what you need and why you're not happy. Just go, I'm a male. I have a biological need for sex. This makes me happy. I need to prioritize
deniability.
my life.
You're preaching to the choir, buddy. Tell that to all the women in modern societies who think men are bad because of that.
No,
you don't need to tell that to me.
Okay, I'll speak on this in just a little bit, but I think when it comes down to sex like being like my main drive, I don't think it is. I've got a family, I've got a wife and things like that, and I can go into that drive if I want to, but I've got other things that like drive me.
That drive though.
Well, I think that a lot of things are tied into a lot of things. Like I think my drive to eat is also tied into my drive for sex. Like I think those are oddly correlated in some really interesting areas. But the other side of it is that when it comes to things like romance, I see those as more of a courtship I see that more as of why do certain birds display certain colors, or certain creatures kind of have these weird courtship styles, and it's not just about, I'm going to go over there and, just have, sex with the opposite sex and make that. There's a dance that's involved. And that romance is the dance. That romance is the courtship to say, hey, I'd like to, personally start to intertwine with you. And whether that leads to a long relationship or short-term relationship, romance is the prelude, is that courtship dance that you have to do in order to perform the sexual act, which is meant for procreation and things like that. But we don't always procreate when we do it. So I think that when it comes to male versus female romance, yeah, it's going to be different. But men still do it. Even if you say, well, my primary drive is sex and all that, and I don't really care for that stuff, you still do it, because the opposite would be rape. So you would go to a bar and you'd buy a woman a drink and you talk to her and you get to know her. And for me personally, like for who I am, I have to get to know somebody in order for me to have sex with them. I can't. I've been in the situation of like one night stands and things like that. It just doesn't work for me. I'm not into that kind of thing.
Hey, Grim.
You point out what I was trying to say less eloquently is it's a tool. It's part of, as you say, it's part of the human mating ritual. It's a tool in my toolkit, as it were, to achieve an end.
But I was reading, kind of prepping for this, reading a study on there's different phases of romantic relationships. The coming together is what we're always kind of like focusing on, because we're all like very euphoric, I think, in that time. But then there's that relational maintenance, and then even the coming apart phase of a romantic relationship. And then it made me start thinking about, God, I need to do a study on that cycle of relationships in relation to pimp and victim of sex trafficking, because I think that would be very interesting to look at.
That's an interesting one too. No, it is interesting to look at. I think, and I also think it's also different. Like men are like a switch, right? We can be turned on almost instantly, where women it's more of like a lamp. It needs to be warmed up, just right. It's because of the way that we're biologically set and the way our hormones are set.
Some women need to be warmed up. Some women are always wet.
Some women are always, some women are always. It depends. And some men need to be warmed up. Yes, some men.
Some of us are on the way.
Look.
Yes, there's outliers.
I am a firm believer. If the base question here was, are women more romantic than men? I am a firm. I don't take many things on faith, which is even weird for me to say. But I am a firm believer that the actual differences between the two furthest ends of the spectrum, male and female, are much more minuscule than what modern societies may want us to believe. Modern society may want us to believe that me as a man and you as a woman are two totally different things. We have the same internals, we have the same brains, we have the same physiology, the same biology. Are there slight differences in our sort of unconscious thought processes? Yes. Men are more, a lot of the time, men are more,
we compartmentalize more than women.
Yes.
Besides
we're not
testosterone,
we're not always the best at multitasking.
Yeah, besides estrogen and testosterone, the human brain actually really isn't that different between men and women. It depends on really how it's used.
Think about this for a second.
I think you guys
of all the personality traits.
Just let Zombie speak for a second. What, Zombie?
I think you guys are focusing too much on gender differences other than the similarities that we have. I think that that's
literally what I was saying.
Yeah.
I mean, the changes of our lifespan and how we perceive romance may even change over that time.
I did want to bring up, because I was sort of listening to this earlier, didn't have a chance to chime in. We're talking about novel romances, or like God, what is it? Like the books with like the blonde hair guy at them. Yeah, with Fabio on the front.
Yeah, romantic
So-
novels.
Erotica.
Yeah, romantic novels.
Oh, yeah,
So people
yeah.
will say like,
It's
"Oh, that's
rough.
funny for women." But have you ever watched a Mel Gibson movie? A Mel Gibson movie is exactly a fucking romance novel in movie form for men.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
oh,
You
absolutely.
know what?
Well, there's estrogen filling type,
Oh no,
plot
no, well,
lines
not,
and
no,
things like
no,
that.
I'm not just saying estrogen filling plot lines. So in God, the one where he
Right,
played
right.
William
Passion
Wallace.
of the Christ. What are we talking
No,
about?
no, the one where he played William Wallace. Basically, the entire driving
Braveheart.
force is that the king said, "Oh, I can take prima nocta over your wife," and that was fucking it for him. And it was this like romantic
guess.
thing that he went to the fucking death for his wife, and when he died, he had that fucking like the band that he got married to her with, and that dropped, and that was like the significant point in that movie. Also with Apocalypto, the whole thing was about that dude trying to get back to his wife. That's his wife and his kid that are stuck in that well. So like
Yeah.
Mel Gibson does this kind of stuff all the time, but
And Gladiator was very like that too, wasn't it, Scott? The Gladiator with Russell Crowe.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Well,
absolutely.
his wife
Yep.
was dead, and he was trying to.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
Well,
it
that
was all
one
about
was
her.
a little bit different. 'Cause he was,
Well, that's the
he was
thing. I mean,
trying,
well,
he
you
was
see,
trying
like-
to change. He was trying to change how Rome was being shifted because it was being taken over, and he wanted it more into a democracy. So that's what that.
Just a quick mic check.
Gladiator, I think what Gladiator was all about was
Mic check.
getting
It's
a
working.
revenge on the guy that killed his wife. And
Yeah.
that was the whole story of Gladiator, was he was going
Okay, so
after
Scott-
fucking
That
Joaquin Phoenix to kill that motherfucker.
Yeah,
Scott,
in order to.
would you explain to me who, as a cynical woman, because I tend to say, okay, those things, all those girly bits of the wife dying or the woman being, they're put in just to keep the women happy. The men really are only there for fighting.
No.
But you're telling me, Scott, no, that is romantic for men.
No,
Oh, absolutely.
I can go along with what Scott's saying. Fundamentally, like men need to feel needed. It's tremendously emasculating if you're not needed by something.
And men
or
need
someone.
I
love
think women
just as
need to
much as
feel needed, though,
men,
too.
men need
Yeah.
love
I think
just as much
it's a
as
human
women.
condition.
Like, all humans need love. Like that's
Yeah, we're social
fundamentally
creatures.
true.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where you get the long relationships and, from the one-off. Some people look at sex as in the way that they're needed or the way that they connect, which is fine too. But some people look at that as, I need that
Right.
and I need an actual long relationship to
But
have that. So
I
it's,
do think it's to your point, Ola, where it's like, hey, can't a guy just think that it's romantic to be slaying the dragon? So that's like that is still romanticism. I mean, that the fundamental definition of what romanticism is that,
I think
don't-
men
I don't-
are
I
as
don't-
romantic as women, but but men get distracted. So I'm remembering being a kid and playing a game with me and my girlfriends. We've got the Barbies, and my neighbors, our boys, they've got the action men, and we're all playing the same game. And the Barbies are sunbathing on the beach, and then oh no, a big wave comes. Oh, help, help! And the action men have to come in their helicopters and save them. Blah blah blah. But the action men, the boys, spent most of the game working out how the helicopter worked, and then doing them dive bombs and stuff. And the the girls were spending a lot of the game packing the right stuff for the beach. So we were trying to play this romantic sexual game, I suppose, in some ways, even though we were kids, but of the boys and girls getting together somehow. But the boys just kept getting so distracted by the actual mechanics of the helicopter. It spoiled the romance, in my opinion.
Go ahead, tonight.
That's
So Ola, remember, just in support of what Scott just said, when you asked me what romance is to me, I was trying to define what romance is to me and how you're seeking to define it. But remember what my answer was quite plainly. I'm basically doing something for the woman. It's essentially slaying the dragon. Like, I do romance for the benefit of my partner, because it's something that they want.
And you want to do that. That's what Jordan Peterson's quote is saying. Maybe men want to do that. It's not just, we have to do it because it's the only way it works. It's maybe men want that in their lives. Maybe they want to be needed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We do,
It
and
takes
everybody
different
does.
strokes. It takes different strokes to rule the world.
Everyone sing. Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum.
Just one drum. What might be right for
What might
you
be right
might
for
not be
you
right for some.
might not be right for some.
I just wanted to jump in here real quick. I've been listening in and I find it really interesting. I just wanted to talk on the point that deniability made about romance. You mentioned something about the definition. Well, if you go by I suppose the Oxford definition, it would be, usually short relationship between two people who are in love with each other. So you could state it as a means to an end, flirting to get sex. In that respect, I would say that's valid. But when it comes to long-term relationships, and sex is out of the question, and I know it's going on an extreme end a little bit here, but if you get people who are physically not capable of having sex for various, or at one point were able to have sex and then through perhaps an accident or disability, they get to the point where they can't have sex, that there is still a love and a romance that gets shown between two people without the necessity of sexual interaction, physical interaction.
I think it's rare to have. I think it's rare to have both parties to be incapable of. But in that case, I'm sure they find ways. And in the case of one that just can't, like maybe they don't have any parts, or maybe the systems that operate aren't working anymore.
Even with that, like,
well, I'm sure there's a lot of paraplegic relationships, for example. But like I said, it's a very extreme example.
Yeah, and when you lose those bits, you lose the drive too, unfortunately. So they find ways
you don't use the drive to be
also
romantic is the base point. You don't use the drive to be romantic.
Still courtship.
I don't necessarily think that's the case, because the idea of like romanticism didn't come around until like the 1700s. So you go back to Roman times, and it was a different thing. It wasn't.
It was courtship still.
Being romantic and romantic love and romanticism are different things.
Yeah. They are different things. But back then, like 3,000 years ago, the majority of marriages were probably, arranged marriages. So people didn't have. People didn't have the same kind of understanding that we think we have now about what it is to have a relationship with other people.
Right, but there's still courtship. Even in those, there's still courtship, right? There's still ways. Like there's something about uncomfortableness between forcing yourself on the other person to have to have sex or intercourse. And so there demands this courtship. There demands this dance, and that's where I think the romance. So that we might call it something different nowadays, but back then there was still courting, even back to our, Neanderthal days. I'm sure.
Yeah. I think with some people, with a certain subset of society, because you look at even in India right now. In India, they still do arranged marriages, right? It's not uncommon at all.
Yeah,
and there's just it's not a matter of having some romantic attraction. It's about like producing offspring with somebody who's with the same status that you are. They're in the same caste line that you are, so you can have the same kind of life and propagate that. And that's I do think there is a difference now between what we see in relationships between maybe something that happened 2,000-3,000 years ago, whereas things were more looked at as like a like a contract between two families. But like, okay, our kids are going to bang and they're going to have kids, and that's what it's going to be.
But maybe before there was contracts, Scott, maybe before there were this idea of contracts, maybe before all of that, there was romance. Maybe even go back another 1,000 years. Maybe there was a romance originally.
Yep.
Well, I agree with Ola on that.
I think
if
so
you
too.
look at the science behind like lust with the different chemical reactions in our brain, of what is going on, that we would be feeling that like throughout time.
But I guess isn't lust sort of different than what like deniability brought up earlier about he was saying like I want a relationship with somebody that's going to be long term, that looks aren't necessarily going to play as big of a part in it going forward. So at a certain point, the idea of lust falls away, and then you just have some sort of connection to somebody. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah, I think
well,
maybe
yeah. I
lust
mean, you have
falls
lust,
away.
you have attraction, you have attachment. Like
Well,
I
yeah,
said,
maybe
I
that
don't think
moves away from like romance to more of like you don't feel romantic about your kids, but you fucking love the shit out of them. You know?
right. I also don't feel lust for my children.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's that bit where you
Well,
can't
some
help
people
even though you shouldn't.
are weird like that.
What was that?
Sorry?
Oedipus Rex, is that who you're talking about?
What was that?
He says some
Just
people feel
sometimes-
differently about that. It was like Oedipus Rex.
No, I just said some people are pretty weird about that. You know, that German guy who locked his daughter in the basement for God knows how many years. But
That's
Scott,
not
I
romantic,
was,
right? That's not. Let's just make that clear. That is not romantic. No.
well, it was lust. It was lust.
She was into it.
It
She
was
was
lust.
really into it. It's called Stockholm
It's not
syndrome.
lust,
She was
that's
into it.
mental illness.
Stockholm syndrome. Woo. So
Yeah, but
go
Scott,
ahead,
man,
Hercules.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that's a pretty interesting point, man. I do agree with you that prior to modern civilization, that the idea of courtship and romance, as we view it now, probably wouldn't have existed to the, you know, like taking people out for a dinner, or you know, the whole modern bureaucracy, I guess you could call it, for dating somebody. But you know, I suppose tribal warfare, you go in and grab the women you want. Rape was probably the go-to, rape and snatching, you know what I mean?
Well, also, even if you were just in a tribe not in war, you would sort of still be limited to people who were born in the same range that you were born in. You know what I mean? So like, you'd probably in a small tribe of 500 people, the amount of sexual partners or people that you could have a relationship with would be drastically reduced to anything that we could possibly understand now.
Hold on, Zombie. Hold on, one at a time. I know Zombie wanted to speak to you.
Zombie, yeah.
At that point.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
No worries.
I'm sorry, Zombie.
It's okay.
No, it's all good. Just make sure we get multiple points out on the one topic before anything goes.
Can I say one thing?
Go ahead, Nick.
We talked about that before, self-preservation, of evolution of people that are less sympathetic, weeding out, and people who are more chemically that way, not moving on because they cared about each other in a natural process adaptation of it being normal. But I think there's also 2 points to it. It's both intellect too, in connected with the emotion of you doing what's smart to move on.
Well, I do think there's also a biological
and knowledgeable.
that, so.
Yeah. It's just a trigger.
Because if you spend enough time with somebody, you get to the point where your brain will release serotonin when you're around that person, just because you've been around that person enough, and all of a sudden it makes you feel like, oh, I love this person, you know. So there are these different things that take place biologically that I don't necessarily think are quote unquote romantic, because romantic is a logical idea.
Let me switch some things around here, because I actually have to go. But what would be interesting also, I think, to touch on maybe after this point is how much does your environment impact the type of partnership that you require. And here's an example. You're seeing a lot of the female body type being portrayed in certain ways, and then that is being told to men what is attractive. But as soon as you go to another country, that's actually being you show what looks to be the American female body, and they look at that like the most disgusting thing ever, and then they show you their ideal women, and you're like, well, that's completely opposite of. And so you can see how this is more of an environment you're being brought up in to say this is what the attractiveness of a woman or a man needs to be, which is quite interesting.
Absolutely.
Can I add to that, Mr. Grimm, as well, that it's the romantic side of it is also cultural, because that's what, when we talk, we're trying to define it, but we're forgetting it's cultural. And I think it was Scott who was talking about we do things other than we're not just grabbing and raping people, right? We're doing other stuff too. But some cultures are still doing the grabbing. Literally, the Irish travellers the Irish gypsies have a very strong tradition that they love, where and it happens sort of once a year at
Yep.
certain fairs, where the whole point of it is for the teenage and upper age boys to go and grab the teenage girls and literally grab them. And the girls must look as slutty as they can, and they walk around the fairs looking gorgeous, and the men must catch them, bundle them into a van or on the back of a horse and kiss them. And
that's terrible. What town is this and what time?
Yeah, I'll send you the details, but you do have to be traveling.
This is awful. Where is this taking place?
What I'm going to say is the girls find it romantic, the boys find it romantic, and the girls find it romantic, and it's what they do. It's their culture.
Well, hold on. Can I speak on that?
That reminds me of a thought experiment that I had where I said, yeah, imagine you visiting a planet that's kind of the same technology advanced as we are, but rape like works within their system, and the idea of courtship and not raping somebody is like really weird to them and just doesn't work because their system works with it, where everybody's totally cool with it and it betters them as a society. And I thought, oh, that's such a weird thing, and now you're saying, hey, just go to this Renaissance fair.
Let's make it clear. No actual rape occurs. Like the girls do get kidnapped and pushed into bushes and kissed, or whatever. But that means that they want to marry them. Just to make that clear. So girls get married when they're 16 and younger, and boys obviously as well.
Yeah,
Usually
that's a cultural aspect for sure.
Yeah.
Ola, can I speak to what you're saying? About people being more empathetic over time. I think that there's two parts to it of natural genetics and people just chemically being triggered to have empathy, and there's another part of people being more empathetic by the mind of gathering knowledge and reasoning more logically to not fear through ignorance of hate. And being more civil. So there's two parts. It's like a 2-part system. It's not your mind's not only of a trigger of feelings, but it's of intellect as well in combination, because they're not really separate. Your emotions aren't separate from your intellect. So over time, they go together, and you gain this society. As society goes along and you get more intelligent and knowledgeable, you don't have to go about barbaric means, because you have more of a camaraderie and understanding between two people, and you can more work together through identifying on the same values with each other than fearing through ignorance of hate. So I think they kind of go both together in evolutionary process of what you call it, psychology evolution and natural evolution. That's cultural in society advancing and becoming more civil.
Societal evolution versus natural evolution.
I was just going to say, from a, not that I am, but from a evolutionary psychology perspective, ever since we came out of the hunter-gatherer tribes into larger societies, bigger cities, evolutionary speaking, working in an environment dealing with huge numbers of people throughout our lives, it favors those who have personality traits that allow them to work in harmony with other people. So from an evolutionary perspective, those traits would eventually make it to the pinnacle of the hierarchy, or not the hierarchy per se, people-wise, but in terms of people would be those with more empathetic traits would essentially have more success in a society where cooperation is favored, and obviously more success, you would have more wealth, etc., more chance of offspring.
And if you kill somebody, they jump on you.
Well, I think you're tying in something else to that, because there are ugly, shitty people who have kids with ugly, shitty people all the time. you know. And
Yeah, obviously there's the abnormalities, the non-neurotypicals of psychopathy, sociopathy.
That's well, that I don't think that's the
But you
exception,
get jumped
man.
on.
I mean, like there are people who you'd look at, they'd be like, oh man, I would never touch that with a 10-foot pole, but guarantee there's 10 dudes out there be like, I'll bang that shit, you know. So I mean,
yeah, but
it's not this idea of just like, oh, it's only like the best and brightest among us are having kids. Because I mean, if
it's not about. I didn't mention
if somebody goes out and
cognitive.
starts bashing old women over their head, that's going to be taken care of ASAP. I mean, we're going to jump on that guy. Like in the middle of we're not just going to go about our business and ignoring it.
Unless they're
kind of goes
witches,
against,
you know. And then if they're hanging witches, it's cool, right?
That was ignorance,
in modern society, going against someone, you know, physically attacking them goes against, you know, the norms of today. So you wouldn't be very successful in that society. You would end up in prison for the majority of your life, and you wouldn't propagate your children. So that kind of gene pool would be cancelled out. But when it comes to ability, empathy doesn't necessarily have anything to do with cognitive ability. So you can be an empathetic person and you know, not necessarily be the brightest tool in the shed, but you can make it up to a managerial point.
When I would agree with you if you're talking about just Western societies or Western, you know, countries. But I mean, if you just look at the entire Earth in totality, that's not happening at all. You know, I mean, that's certainly not what's happening in India. I don't know if you guys saw this today.
I agree with you. I agree with you there.
Yeah, so I just read this thing today. So some judge in India said that he wouldn't punish a rapist if he married his victim. Now, his victim wasn't just like somebody that was a date rape. No, he like kidnapped this girl, tied her up, and like raped her repeatedly and said, if you tell anybody, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill your family, I'm going to kill your brother. And then the judge is like, oh, well, if you just marry her, we won't send you to jail. Like, what kind of fucking batshit insanity is that?
Well, that's the Islamic law. That's what's happening.
Oh no, that's not Islamic. That's in India. That's
Hindi.
Same thing.
Yeah, Hindus.
They're crazy too.
It's not the same thing.
They're crazy
Hindus
too.
Are quite different but they're quite different than Muslims.
Yeah, they're crazier. I admit.
Who do I talk to get the Travis Pangburn role? I see he has his own role. I want it.
Well, where do you think that originates from?
Hold on, what was that, Grizzly?
I see there's a special role, Travis Pangburn. It seems that only one person has it, and so it must be really special. Can I get a Travis Pangburn role?
Well, no, because Travis Pangburn is already taken. You have to be you.
Oh, I didn't know it worked that way.
Dr. Zeus explained that to us.
Yeah, that's the ignorance part of people being backwards of burning witches. The more society learned, and they more turned away because a lot of that was from ignorance. So more people were knowledgeable and they're rational in their thinking. They didn't massacre a bunch of villages. They didn't run around just massacring a bunch of people. Just because.
So you do think,
there's still bad in the world.
500 years,
there's no bad.
Well, do you think in 500 years, things that we do right now that we just think that's completely normal and in civilized society, that we're going to be like, oh no, that's just because ignorance. So, I mean, it's like, to me,
Right now, if somebody go into another country and just started killing a bunch of people from another country, that's not going to fly with the world, in the international community. It's not.
I don't buy for the. I also don't buy for the motion
right now. You know, so it's.
Well,
I don't buy the
some
motion
cases,
that
yeah.
somehow the thing that we see immoral or reprehensible or even moral, that after 100 years we will see it differently. I think we're getting more understanding and grasping of like the human psyche and what is suffering and pain. So I don't think even like in a 200 year would be considered raping people a moral thing, because It's not that's not something we connected to it abstractly. It has a foundation, you know, like physical foundation, psychological foundation, and cultural foundation as well, and also metaethical as well. So it's like robust.
But I do think right now we put people in jail for drug addiction as opposed to maybe in like a couple 100 years they'll be like, okay, the best way to go about this is not putting people in prison for this.
No, we agree. There are movements against it already. That's what I'm saying. Like those things already.
No, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying like. The point that I'm trying to make is like to try and go back and like, oh, the people they just did that because they're ignorant. We're just as ignorant now. We just don't necessarily.
But there's movements against it.
Back then, there is, and even back then there was movements against it. But you know, it was
hopeless movements though.
Hopeless movements? I don't know.
I
mean, got out of that, so I don't think it was all that hopeless.
Another country couldn't just go into another country and just wipe it out because they can. They're bigger, and the other one's smaller.
Can I
in the barbaric times of the Conan era, you could easily do that. You know, they're running around wiping out people.
Well, we did that in the United States with the Native American population. Go ahead, Zombie.
Well, I was sitting here trying to talk and I was muted. But to go back to people in jail for drugs, that is one of the biggest myths right now. I can guarantee you, if you went and looked through the rolls of your jail population and our prison population, people for just personal use drugs have been out of facilities for 10 years.
Yeah. So you're right. That has changed in the past 10 years. Absolutely right. I'm just thinking back to the time, you know, when I was in college and stuff, and I knew dudes who got busted.
Like
and
if you're looking at 2002 or 1980s to 2010, I would say yes. But about 10 years ago, there was a huge shift in what people decided was important to house adults in custody for, and that was not one of them because it costs anywhere from $60 to $100 a day to house somebody in jail. It's a lot cheaper to put them in a freaking flop house.
I would also say like, for example, veganism and also eating animal. This something might actually be reprehensible in the future if we like advance even more and people start realize like how the animal farming and animal eating and the animal industry is so cruel and horrific and disgusting and all of those things as well. This thing may change.
The fact that it's perceived as being cruel is completely different to whether or not it's moral. You know, if you need the meat, you can go out and kill an animal. You know, if you're in a survival situation, or even if you've got plenty of alternatives. If you want meat, you should be able to go out and kill an animal.
That's fine.
The cruelty shouldn't have anything to do with.
Don't hang up on the cruelty part. Like veganism is a package, okay? Like you need to understand more about it, like to understand like where I'm coming from. I'm just mentioning cruelty because it's a thing that we all can like relate and we understand how cruel this thing is. Even for someone who's not vegan, just to look at the farming industry, it is fucking disastrous. It's cruel.
Why are we talking about veganism? We were talking about romance, not veganism. Move on.
Scott,
why are you trying to control the conversation?
Because she's the host.
That I started.
We're talking about prisons and drugs as well already, and moral things.
She's the host already.
Scott.
Move on.
Yeah. Okay, go back to romance then.
Hold on, Nivek, go ahead.
Yeah. I
no,
right now.
Zombie says who goes ahead. She's the host.
People are arguing that people are too sensitive now when it comes to every little thing. Like with Cuomo, I think he like, what do you say to her? Do you like older men or something like that? And they're asking for his resignation. Like, what's your view on like, you know, you're thining that society's like too barbaric now? You know, I mean, some people say it's too SJW now. I mean, I'm okay with SJW. I don't think people should do wrong, but I mean, some people they say
both sides are equally absurd.
What's your view on Cuomo?
Well, I think both sides are equally absurd when people have been like, hey, it's like we're still barbarians. No, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. But if you're also
I think he
saying,
touched her
hey,
and
like,
asked her if she liked older men, and they're
yeah.
saying that he
he
should resign.
Oh, with Cuomo, yeah, dude, he's like, that dude's a fucking creep. I mean, anybody who's ever watched that dude knows that dude's a fucking creep. Like, that's obvious, but I just don't think in the bigger conversation about these things, I don't necessarily think it means like, oh, we're fundamentally barbaric still. My bigger point is I just think, standards change, and right now when we talk about something, we can talk about a standard and we're like, oh, well, that's how it's supposed to be, because we can bring in all these things and say that's how people evolved. But I think Ola brought up the point earlier of like, these things are still like societal constructs, like the way we're
and pressure is being brought,
still
and I
based off
think it should be
society.
brought. And pressure is being brought now, and I think it should be brought. But some people are saying like, get out of our business. Everybody like with other concerns around the world, a lot of like interference. I think there's one with India too, of America talking about how they treat each other there, actually, when it comes to caste, or I think like some issue with farming, and they're like, we don't. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people that are conservative minded, they're having issue. That's what the problem is nowadays. It's like they're having issue, like, get out of our business. Like,
what's the realm of how this, like, it ties to like relationships and that kind of stuff? Because I thought initially you're going down.
No, I'm talking about like more civil, by people, society being more civil now than it was at certain times.
Isn't it kind of an admission of? Isn't it kind of an admission of weakness to need civility?
No.
Why?
At all. Not even in the slightest.
Are we too SJW now?
No. Civility is fundamental as far back as society goes. Like, I mean, you couldn't have people just being fucking dickheads to each other all the time and expect civilization to last. People have to have an agreed upon set of rules.
We need more SJW.
Has nothing to do with SJW. It has to just do with maybe sometimes just don't be a dickhead.
I think we do.
Nivik,
yeah?
Just watch the non sequiturs, man. Just take some time to listen. Thanks.
Okay.
Then I'll throw it back to Zombie. Go ahead. You were this is your rodeo. So
I wanted to ask one last question. Instead of romance, define for me bromance, and do you guys have any bromance relationships?
Totally, yeah. I got a buddy who's like, man, every time I see him, like, oh man, fucking Vinny, dude, what's up? And like, you just get fucking excited because you really get along with that person. There's nothing sexual there or whatnot, but you just like, when I'm hanging out with this dude, I'm gonna have a cool conversation and we're gonna get along really well. Nothing's gonna be like awkward. We can just sit there and bullshit for like hours on end with our group of friends, and that's fantastic.
Right. I kind of feel like that's a little bit about some of these Discord chats also, is even though I'm a chick, I can kind of have a bromance.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not into the womance.
Zombie,
I think Oh, okay. Go ahead,
sorry, I just wanted to throw it at Zombie. Where the hell are the chick mances? Where are the? Why can't chicks do this? Why is every chick always mad at the other chick?
Unfortunately, since the term bromance came about first, they did coin a term called womance, which I don't really like.
That's stupid. That sounds like something women would come up with. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I want it to be something different, like chickmance or something. It's like way better.
Chickman. We got to come up with something better than chickmance. Come on, room.
You know what that reminds me of?
Everyone has to contribute to this. What can we call
I
this?
thought about
Ola's
fomance.
got it. Wait, what was that?
Fomance.
Fomance? Femance?
Yeah,
I like
for
femance.
Femance.
How about I got one? Vagimance.
Vagimance. That sounds a little
That's almost
too
like
much
Vagisil.
Having to put some monostat up my vajayjay for a freaking yeast infection.
Dude, you know what I find hilarious is when you say that. I don't know if you guys have ever seen So I Married an Axe Murder when he goes up there and is, whoa, man. Who was that?
Yeah, no, I know that. It's very good.
Powers.
Too good, yeah. No, I think it's So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yeah, but who is the actor in that?
Mike Myers, an actor.
Mike
yeah.
Myers, that's right. Yeah.
Whoa, man. Yeah.
Whoa, man.
That sounds like Mike
hilarious,
Myers.
Man.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's funny.
Martin Short would be better.
No, but I do. I mean, I think Trav has a point there. Like, I don't know. I think there are like friends of girls, but it's a bit more, I don't know, backstabby. Not always.
Well, I don't think it's backstabby, Scott, necessarily, but something that seems quite general is competition between women to a degree where it can get in the way of friendship almost. Where I think with men, like men compete with each other.
Are you recognizing this, Zombie?
Yeah, I am. Because
Really?
what's funny about this I'm saying I think I know what you're thinking about right now, because like I'm going, wow, these guys actually think that we only have friends that are like in conflict. Because I'm not saying a lot of women that I interact with on a day-to-day basis that like we get on the phone or we get together and then all of a sudden we're like, it's 3 hours later and we're like, oh shit, we got to get back to our real life.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm talking about the hardcore stereotype of women can't get along. They're always just worried about who's got bigger boobs or something.
But that's bullshit, right?
That's
bullshit.
I don't necessarily. I think if you say it in a general term, it's bullshit.
None of you guys know even that, like, maybe Ola and I talk quite a bit.
Oh no! I agree with you on that.
And we just call it friendship. Like it's not some special like, oh my god, we're friends. We have a special name. It's just like friendship stuff.
Yep.
I suppose that a bit of sisterhood.
When I agree with both you guys, with you and with Zombie and you, Ola, on that, because in the general sense, I don't say that's always the case, because I was going to follow that up being like, hey, I know women who have great relationships with other women, and it's like, you know, it's the same thing as what you'd call quote unquote bromance, you know. And I also know guys who get to the like a weird confrontational competition shit and like can never get along as well, you know. But then I think it's more about just finding those people that you can get along with, and I agree. Maybe there needs to be a term for it, you know. Womance might not be the one, but there is the same thing there, in my opinion.
Yeah, because let's all just be clear. Bromance is just talking about friendship too, but this is a fun colloquial conversation of like, because Zombie brought up bromance, and that's where this started.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, when I did look up bromance, I wanted to look at the definition. I also asked for the female equivalent, and it came up with womance, which I think is stupid.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm not going to define any of my female friend relationships as a womance. It seems so weak.
But also, women. I don't think women also call their friends like Brotato or Brocephus or Broheim or like all these other things that dudes. Brotato. Yeah, you never heard of like Brotato, Brocephus.
Brocephus.
You just find a word that bro can fit in front of it.
No, we just call each other our names, like Zombie or Zom. Pretty straightforward.
But this is what the world. Yeah, people. I think people get sick of calling each other by their regular names, so that they create even their own version of what that person's label ought to be, and I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I think
When
I call
even
my
my
buddy
man and
Jeremy
my
like
dude
J
gets old.
Dizzle. I think I call him something different every time we talk. Like creme fraiche. It doesn't even have to like relate to his name.
But is that
I've-
okay? I'm sorry to sound a bit feministy, but is that because guys don't really know how to do emotion or something friendship
No.
properly, so they have to kind of couch it in this funny like, hey, Trav the Travster, how are you? Whereas women just say, hey, I like talking to you. Yeah, I like talking to you. And that's what literally me and Zombie say.
men
Hey, it's great talking to you.
Yeah, men still do that
know,
too, but men are just funnier than women, I guess.
I also think it's probably different because I bet Lawrence Krauss isn't calling his buddies brotato.
He probably is.
I don't know. I doubt it.
That's why they stay away from him.
He seems to be just like a pretty like, hey, how's it going, Jeremy? And that's like how he'd respond to you. Very
Machu Picchu.
Clean. Well, because I've got a buddy that every time I talk to him, he's got a different bro reference every single time. And I'm like, where do you even come up with this shit? You got to be spending like 3 hours a day just like coming
beforehand,
up with different
just
bro
dreaming
puns.
about you, Scott, and calling you names. That's quite romantic in itself.
You're just like thinking about bro puns all the time, and I'm like, God damn, dude.
Bro puns.
Or just call your friends like pop culture references.
Well,
like,
me and Zombie,
Italian
me and Zombie have got a nicknames for each other. We're not a bromance, are we, Zombie? We're mum chums.
That's right.
That's good. That's a
that
good
one's
one
good.
right there.
That's what we were looking for.
That
No,
is it.
I'm feeling Zombie getting really angry. Can you not hear that in her eyes? Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure.
Mum chum, dude.
I know
that's
what yeah right means.
hilarious. Dude, mum chum though, Ola, that is perfect.
I like that.
She's my mum chum.
Mum chum.
My.
Fine. Oh, yeah, we all know what fine means.
What was that movie, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants? Right, that was all about like a romance or a mum chum.
Something to do with women's issues. I'm sure.
Was Thelma and Louise also?
I think so too. Yeah. And they just brought in because in that movie they just brought in Brad Pitt for a little bit of eye candy. He'd be like the girl in the bikini in that movie.
That's right, exactly. Brad Pitt in the cowboy hat. Yeah, that was exactly it. And it worked.
And it worked. Oh, that's
Good one.
hilarious.
I have no other questions regarding romance, so if you all want to change the subject, you can.
I do have a question to
That was
Dal
really
because I
interesting.
see.
Thank you for doing that. That was really interesting. I was very interested.
I'm
'Cause
sorry I
Dal's
had
like-
to dip out for a little bit for work.
I'd like to hear what Dal says because his icon is like him and his girlfriend kissing. So haven't heard too much from Dal, but I wonder what he says because it seems like maybe
that
He was
he's in the
kind
throes
of
of
chatty a
romance.
little bit towards the beginning.
Yeah, I've been mostly listening. What specifically?
You're hard to hear, brother. Can you get close to your mic or something? It sounds like your mic's in your ass.
Better?
Yeah, that's better.
I need to leave. Thank you guys a lot. See you guys later.
Yeah, thanks, Zach.
It's too late already.
See you, Zep. So any specific sort of question or just...
We have been
what
asking
do you
about
What do you
romance.
think about bromances and mum chums?
Mom chum. I feel like
I don't
mom
think mum
chums. could be taken broad. Like that should be an international.
It does sound a bit dirty. we're
I was gonna say
Okay, yeah.
someone might mishear it as bum chums, and that's gonna mean something way different.
I'm totally gonna rock the mum chum, but it does sound a little bit like Muffy.
So me and this buddy of mine are major bum chums.
Oh my god.
Ola, we need to start a new channel, Mum Chums.
Yeah,
Mum
with
chums, let's
t-shirts.
do it. Let's
I
do
would
it.
actually, I swear to you, I will buy a t-shirt if you make that. I will wear it every day.
Oh God.
Get him 6 Mum Chum t-shirts and 1 Bum Chum t-shirt.
Oh my god, yeah.
Bum chum.
Yeah,
Dude,
one of them would
Bum
have
chum
bum
is a
chum on the
thing.
back.
Bum chum is a thing. I just looked it up, and bum chum is actually a thing, right?
Well, is mum chum a thing? Look up mum chum.
So I just looked. I looked up mum chum, and it just took me to bum chum on Urban
Yeah,
Dictionary.
so we've invented mum chums. So guys, let's go with it. Come
Oh my
on.
god, you guys bum chums. You guys get this. Bum chums is a trendy collection for your summer wardrobe. That's what bum chums is. Oh my god.
Styling.
Dude,
I
this
dig
is, I'm gonna plug this company right now. That's shocking. I'm gonna put
That's
it
fucking hilarious.
right there.
Get a sponsorship.
In Urban Dictionary, it also
Bum
says. In one Urban Dictionary, it also says homosexual anal sex.
I was thinking it would probably say that.
You know, it's Urban Dictionary.
Everything's bum sex on Urban Dictionary.
Everything's bum sex in real life.
Couldn't agree more, man.
Debbie, you got anything? I see you just came in recently.
How you think things might be after the virus? Some people call it the Great Reset. Things are going to change radically. It's not going to be. We're not going to go back to life. How it's not going to go back to norm.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things that maybe seems like a shock right now, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's never going to go back." But you know, after the Black Plague, things went back, right? You know, so
things changed. The feudal system collapsed.
Not from the Black Plague. The Black Plague, the first time that came around was like the 1200s.
People who who had serfs, they died. A lot of them escaped, and they had to tend to their own crops, and society it greatly damaged the feudal system, and people that's when things were starting to change, because the people who were under their lords, they weren't there anymore, because everybody was dead. Like half people were dying out everywhere.
Are you talking about the second outbreak? Because the first outbreak was in like the 1300s. And things went pretty much right back to the exact same they were before. Second outbreak was like 1660. Yeah, I could see what you're talking about there, but
the trend of it collapsing started with the plague.
Yeah, but
I give it 20 years, no different than 9/11, and half of the young people that were small in that time frame not really understanding the full impact of it then.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are at the top now, they are not there. No, they lost their businesses. They're broke. There's a lot of damage being done to the system. It has to change. The damage is being done now.
What do you mean? What?
A lot of people don't lost their businesses. A lot of people are homeless. Things are getting shooken up. Is all I'm saying. Something is an effect has to happen.
Yeah, I mean, what's the
and the virus is still around. You know, who knows? It might mutate. You can argue that.
How many businesses actually succeed after 2 years? Like, what is it? Like 75% of businesses fail within 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, So if we even think about that, it hasn't even been 2 years. So a lot of the stuff you might see in the news, it could be somebody who just started a business. It could be somebody who's had a business for however long. It might have been already on the waning side of things.
Also,
look at Amazon. They've made fuck loads of money.
A lot of times when people collapse at the top, people move up and take that spot in change happening.
Yeah, absolutely. What change are you talking about, though?
I don't know. I'm just saying what you think might. I don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like it's Chicken Little, the sky is falling.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this is something people have done since the beginning of recorded history. Like, people have always been saying, I mean, everything's fucked right now. Everything's going to hell. And it's always been fine, but literally every generation people say everything's fucked up. Just look at the difference between boomers and like Gen Xers or Gen Zers or whatever it is.
But some major events, things did happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the Depression or World War II. You told me that. You told me that.
Yeah, well, yeah. World War II is a way bigger impact than what we've got going on right now.
Well, maybe death wise, yeah, but
not even.
Actually, more people died in coronavirus.
I know. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, in World War II, the biggest thing that happened is you had other countries bombing out other countries' production centers or their centers of manufacturing, and that was the biggest thing. That drove down productivity and sort of what made the United States take off, because everywhere in Europe, China was not an industrial state at that point, but Japan was. Their entire manufacturing gone. All of Europe, their entire manufacturing.
Some people think Corona's a scam. It's been invented in order to do certain things in a laboratory. I don't know.
No, that's
in China laboratory, Wuhan.
You would have to provide a shitload of evidence to make that case, because it's not like we have not experienced viruses and bacteria coming into wiping out a fuckload of people. This is not something that's never happened.
Some people argue this is sadistic virus. It's almost as if it was made. I don't believe it. I don't know. I'm not saying I believe that stuff. I'm just saying. I never take sides when I talk. I talk from all sides.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just saying, people argue the Earth is flat. That doesn't mean, unless you have evidence, nobody's going to take you seriously. And
I'm quite convinced that it's lab made.
What?
Because I've not seen the evidence that shows that it's not lab made. Put it that way. I haven't seen the evidence that shows that it's come from the wild.
Okay. Did the church committee show that the government invented AIDS? Is that?
That's evil.
Oh, wrong one. Oh crap.
Bobby, what do you think? Is coronavirus man-made? Oh.
I don't know which is which. Is it the New World Order man-made of the Illuminati, or is it the communist man-made of China? That's what I hear from both sides, actually.
Illuminati.
Yeah. George Soros and Hillary Clinton, they all made the virus.
Do people still talk about the Illuminati?
Illuminati, yeah.
Sort of done
I thought I was dead when I was like 14, mate.
Oh, yeah. Is there a term boomer baby? I'm gonna make it.
What's a boomer baby? A boomer baby?
Well, it's a term that I just am defining. So let me ad-lib here. It's a young person who will always resort to calling someone who is more mature than them a boomer.
Okay, boomer. Yes.
Exactly. There we go.
Okay, boomer. Somebody out of touch.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's awesome. I need to trademark that shit. Pangburn, you want a shirt? Boomer baby?
You know what drives me crazy about that? People call other people boomers, and like you do realize boomers are like in their fucking 70s and 80s.
I know. Like my dad's definitely a boomer.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I thought it was you guys. Oh,
What was that?
I thought it was you guys.
Who, the babies of boomers?
I thought 50s and above were boomers. So
No, seven.
Oh, no, yeah.
A true boomer was born right after World War II, where
The people running
they'd
for
have to be
president.
Date is technically cutoff date is technically like 1962 or something, but I don't know if people count that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but a true boomer is like right off of their parents got home from World War II and boom, they were born.
Yeah, so boomers are anybody who's born between 46 and 64. So if you're born in 64, that was the last year for a boomer, you are now, what, close to
57?
60s? Yep.
64, you have to be your high 50s to 70s.
All right.
I think I know what's going to happen. We're going to be a more connected society by the internet. And we're going to do more things through online. And people...
Oh, yeah, we already are.
And people like... most people are starting to do things when it comes to income, too, online. In what do you call it? Uber or delivering food. There's just many options more where you don't have to be beholden to somebody if they treat you like crap. You have people having more access to avenues through online when it comes to making income. So I guess that would happen.
That's a great thing. And then at one day at a time, the world always gets better one day at a time, one funeral at a time. As we have one person who has old and outdated views of things, go 6 feet under, we're going to have less and less people who annoyingly and proudly say, oh, well, I don't do computers. There are going to be fewer and fewer people who are going to be able to get away with saying that.
Come on.
And I'm talking...
You're just going to go tell people. Ugh.
What do I have to tell people?
Well, there's hope. There's like life and death. There's a duality of man. It's like that movie. It was not Apocalypse Now. What was it? Like the Mickey Mouse song in it. It's like Full Metal
Jacket?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, what about it?
I mean, what about the duality? Like, the whole thing didn't blow over yet, and you just told people that's how it happens. One funeral at a time. It's like Band of Horses.
Yeah, one funeral at a time. Slowly we'll have fewer and fewer people who think that it should have been a good idea that Jackie Robinson not be allowed to play in the major leagues.
Well,
No.
I think that has already... That started already years ago, though. You know what I mean?
That one, yeah, that's a specific example that I'm talking about. I'm just saying that there's ones that are happening now.
Well, I'm planning to do things differently after the virus in not working. I want to transfer from making income online instead of working under some asshole, and be more self-independent. Do drop shipping, see if I can do passive income. Anything possible I can do revenue-wise in bringing in income through the internet and being more free to be mobile and independent and self-sufficient. That's what I'm trying to do.
Welcome to the
in
club.
planning.
Kind of like the modern day version of living off grid.
It's called digital nomading.
Nice.
People, they do everything simultaneous at once. They travel the world, and they make passive income at the same time. And you can learn on the internet, and you're getting educated all at once. They're saying, I'm not going to wait till I'm effing 60 years old, and then now I'm going to get up and I'm going to experience the world, in dancing and parties. Like, why?
Yeah, I know a couple of people that were able to manage that have basically, it seems as though they figured out a cheat code to life.
and they're always
Pangburn,
asking.
Pangburn figured it out. He broke the code. David, I mean Travis.
Well, what he needs is
I'm trying to break the
remonetize
code. I'm close. I think I'm close to breaking it.
Yeah, my friends who have broken this code, though, they've become more and more out of touch with the rest of us, though. That's the problem. So now they're asking me, like, oh, do you want to come to Costa Rica with us? Do you want to come to Andorra with us? And I'm like, bro, nobody can do what you can do. Like, most of the world is still in a place where they're tied to a location, they're tied to a house, they're tied to a boss, they're tied to their kids, and they're tied to a salary. Like, and there are going to be
under their lord. They're under their feudal lord.
Fine. Yeah, I have no problem calling it a feudal lord. I'm just saying that, like, there's going to be a lot of people who are always going to be under the boot of the feudal lord because, like,
the more society advances, the freer people are when they're connected. Is what I'm saying. You have more
how many
avenues.
more?
If you live out in the middle of nowhere and you just have to work for one douchebag, you're just subjected to that in a small town. That's how come, like, in a city, there's way more options and people are more free. You can have a bunch of other options easy. That's how come, like, when I work, it's like, oh, fire me, so what? You know, I mean,
yeah,
like,
but you and I know we don't
and,
need. You and I know that we don't need any more Instagram influencers. Okay, we've got plenty of them.
No, I'm saying too. Can they be more connected? You fired me. I have no problem being fired because I'm in a highly populated area, and I could easily just get work, you know. And there's because you're more connected. You're more connected with society and the internet. I mean, I move like that. Like, not I kind of move like that, but not
personal
not too
choice.
much.
Because I think that there's also a lot of people that don't want to be so connected anymore. Like, even young people that are choosing
I don't have
not
Instagram.
to be so connected.
I'm not really a pinned down person. I want to be more free, actually.
And that's great. That's choice.
I mean, if you're under an asshole, it's not, you wouldn't want to, you know. Some people are trapped. Even though they're wealthy, they're subjected to assholes. Even if one time I was in a house and I didn't have a place. Huh?
Like, what are we actually talking about? I'm sort of confused.
I was just talking about freedom. I was saying about how things would change from later on, and but anyways, when I was in a place and I was treated like crap, I easily just walked out of the door. I wasn't subjected to any type of.
This sounds like a great
abuse.
case for.
When we were talking about we started with how the world will change in being connected, and I was talking about more connectivity gives better options in online and not being under anybody, because if you're in the middle of nowhere in a small town, you only probably might have 1-2 options of making income. Some people, they experience that, but by being more connected, you have many more options, like with the city or with online, with Uber and that's what I was saying. That's what I was trying to
see. I think having no debt and, like, actually being able to have choice of whether I need to work or not is more control and more choice.
Yeah, I was more talking about independence and just and being more free to go about your business and not be under or beholden to, under anybody, having to be treated like crap or talked to anyway. You're financially and you're more independent, free of just going about what you want to do.
Okay,
I kind of move like that already, but what I want to do is crack the code. I want to, like, just digital nomad wherever I want and make income and I can learn online and I have passive income coming in, and I'm going here and I'm going there.
Yeah, but don't you think that not everybody can do that?
That's the point I was making. Like, look, we have a certain amount of. There can only be so many.
By society not changing now is what I was talking about. People taking that option by the lockdown of trying to transition your life to what might possibly come.
Can
Not going
I
back
just
to
want to
what
listen
was
to
old.
what
Go to something new.
has to say, really. I just want to hear what he's got to say.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, that we can only have so many. We can only have so many people. Like, let's say that. Okay, so let's break this down. If I want to be a digital nomad, right? I want to live in my car and whatever hotels I can go to. Right? I could do that right now.
Just quickly, I just want to get what you mean by digital nomad, like an investor / stock trader.
No, person lives. They have their laptop. They make passive income through online, and they can travel more easily and freer than working at a building under a boss. And you can.
They don't trade their time for money. That's essentially a digital nomad.
You don't wait till you get old to travel the world. You're doing everything at once. You're learning and you're making income and you're traveling all at the same time.
Right. So an example of this, like the most kind of vapid example of this would be the Instagram influencer. Right. You walk outside and you see somebody doing a photo shoot and they have some kind of sponsorship for some hair straightener. Right. And they're getting paid to do this. Okay, now I could do this as well. I could move out of my apartment and live in my car and drive all around the country. And just when I'm low on cash, I can just turn on my DoorDash app and I can do a couple of food deliveries. And, you know, I could just live out of my car that way. I mean, that would be perfectly fine. It wouldn't be perfectly fine because I ultimately don't want to do that. I mean,
here's another option. You can have a big company that has, you know, many connections everywhere, and you can just transition from where you are to another location under the company. But if you work for a company and they have, you know, they're all over the country, you can just say, okay, can you transition me to that spot?
Yeah, and I think that this is okay for you. I mean, if you can figure out a way that you can do this. I mean, what I'm just trying to get at is that there are people who need to work in environments where they are tied to their communities and they need to work on physical land. So not everyone is going to say, well, all I need is an internet connection and I can do my job. Well, it's not really that simple for a lot of people. And I don't know that I would prefer a world where most of us are tied into our screens so much all the time for our job. No, I want to be.
You don't have to be tied to your screen. I mean, you can.
You have to.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay.
No, it's all right though. I sort of get what
maybe I'm a digital nomad, but I work for a major company because, like, last week I was in Tahoe on my computer doing work, and then up skiing with my nieces. And right now I'm sitting at the beach in my robe eating flaming hot Cheetos, talking to you. So am I a digital nomad?
Kind of, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I just heard the term.
But it's not about digital nomad. It's just about being more independent and have, you get what I mean?
I think essentially what you're saying is just you don't trade your time for money, right? So money makes money for you, or you don't have to physically be there to make money. So if you want to get,
you don't have to be beholden to somebody. If a boss says, "Okay, kiss my butt," you're just gonna walk out the door.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing. Yeah.
This is also enormously more difficult to do, I will point out, if you have children to raise.
Yeah.
Okay. Good point.
Yeah.
But if you're a single 20-something able-bodied that, is just like, you know what, I can make a living writing fucking pamphlets for beach resorts, and I'm going to just do that for my from my computer. Then, more power to you. I mean, it is pretty cool if you're as an individual able to do that, and that's what you want to do. I just don't think we're going to see this massive wave of people doing it because they can't.
Yeah. If anything, people are only doing that because of the current circumstance.
But the internet's more connecting people because of the virus.
Oh no, definitely. COVID has been a catalyst for digitalization, whatever. Definitely.
A lot of that is going to be in place.
Well, it depends on what you mean by digitalization.
How people are connected through talking through a lot of those route connections that were made. They're gonna continue, like what you call it, like Zoom, and like what we're doing.
Oh,
a lot of people are communicating online.
Big business is going to cut back on all kind of work travel, and it will be done. The bulk of on Zoom.
Yeah,
because they've saved so much money. They don't have to send their employees all over the U.S. Adidas, Nike, anybody from the Pacific Northwest, all of those people that I know, they're all of their training budgets and all of their travel budgets have been cut significantly forever.
A lot of businesses try to get more computerized. Actually, they don't like doing anything on paper or you coming in. If I think you get a discount too. Like if it's automatically money's pulled from your account instead of I guess going in.
It's going to be interesting though when like our tennis shoes are made to be 15 sizes too small. And we're trying to squeeze it on because the manufacturers are just going off of specs and someone's made a mistake and 3,000 pairs have been made incorrectly.
Well, but if so, by the way, I would just add that if you're looking for passive income, I mean, if you can get residual checks in the mail from like, I'm not recommending that everyone do this because, again, I don't want everyone in the world to become a goddamn YouTuber and just talk about, hey guys, today I tried a new brand of coffee and look at how cool I am when I sip it. But if you can generate that much traffic for it, I mean, and you can get sponsorships and then you just get, as the views pour in and you can get money for it. And that's pretty cool.
Chase your dreams, Nivek. Don't listen to anyone. Haha.
Yeah, that's we call that trading time for money, right?
You know what this sounds like to me though? It sounds like a hustle. Like no different than when people have to have all these different side hustles to make their ends meet. That doesn't look appetizing to me, but I'm from a totally different generation.
If you get paid 150,000,
you should diversify.
Maybe
you should diversify. It's good.
Why would I diversify? I've saved a ton of money. I have property, multiple pieces of property. I don't need the passive income because like I've literally saved. I will transition smoothly into not having to work and be paid the same amount of money because I've saved so much.
You didn't have like other options in making money when you're making money?
I didn't need to. I would just work overtime, tons of it. I would literally double my salary in a year by the amount of overtime that I'd work. But, on this other
okay,
note,
if you have a lot of money, then you're okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, but
not everybody have a ton of money.
I get 11 weeks off a year. I literally could take a week off a month, but what I usually do is take a month off here and there. The side hustle would drive me nuts because I would never be satisfied because I would.
It's not necessarily about the side hustle. It's about being independent. You said you're more free because you can travel from one place to another more easily.
Well, that is through technology, most definitely. But that was already in place prior to COVID for me. Like that's been in place since 2015.
Okay, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I did a big presentation for like 1,200 people yesterday on the internet. I would rather do that at a conference because it's a lot easier to see faces and answer questions that way. But when I'm doing it over the internet, like I get like 50 questions on the side and you don't, and I ended up answering emails for 3 hours afterwards and, all this other stuff. It's not the same as having that personal contact with people.
But the thing about the internet, while you're talking to somebody in person, they could be they could be commenting they could be texting you questions, they could be sending you questions, you know what I mean, online.
Right,
so you can get both avenues of.
I can reach out to more people. There were people from South Africa, from the UK, from all over the world, mostly the US on this, but it's still not the same. And I think that they would have been at a conference had we had the equivalent. So, I mean, I think it's like a catch-22 with the internet.
I kind of had an idea with what we're doing now, with where we have a comment box while we're speaking to each other at the same time. So like whatever somebody's touching on, you can look at what they're saying, and if you can see a contradiction, you could probably like. So while we're talking right now, we could also have a comment box section where we're texting to each other's comment, and you can talk and you can see a response. So it's not as much talking over each other. Just an idea. I don't know if that's good or bad.
We do have that on here, FYI. So like we have text channels, so people routinely text.
Maybe we should use it more often.
FYI.
We
People
use it all the time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, if you
Just
scroll
go
down
up to
from
live
where...
Pangburn philosophy and you'll see comments. There's like 7 of them since the last time.
Yeah.
On what we were just talking about?
Yep.
Okay, checkmate. Okay, never mind.
Well, do any of you guys remember who that guy Jeffrey Toobin is, who was on CNN, who just got busted in a Zoom call for jerking off, like in the middle of a fucking call?
Oh my god!
He's like, I didn't know my camera was on. Yeah.
Oh
shit! Will you put seriously that happened? What's the guy's name? I gotta look him up.
Jeffrey Toobin, Toobin.
Does he have a Pornhub channel? Has he got plenty of? Does he have OnlyFans yet? Like, is he that famous?
Dude,
There's probably memes for it.
How perfect is his last name for what happened to? Toobin.
I was on a Discord.
That's my nightmare.
What was that?
What's that, Ola?
I was on a Discord meditation group a few weeks ago, and someone was doing exactly that as well. We all had our cameras on. It was being led by poor old monk going, and people were going, monk, and there was some guy going,
Oh my god!
Christ.
He got thrown out of the group eventually.
Oh, that is. That's just classic.
Funny. Yeah.
Maybe he liked the monks humming.
Well, I think the issue was there were about 20 other people also with their cameras on going, as well. So I think he had his pick.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm a part of this organization that has quite a few people that are way older than me. So anyway, they're really getting, they're getting into these Zoom meetings that they love now, and a bunch of trolls kind of hijack the meeting because they put the code up in a public area, and then they put a Pornhub video on, and a girl with a butt plug and a freaking little raccoon tail was on there, and they were just like, "What is that?"
God, so gross.
Those people do know how it's so very easy to limit who can join your group on that kind of stuff. Like to me, it's just so ridiculous. Like it takes all like 2 minutes.
But if you don't know it, right? Because we had, my family had a great Zoom meeting last autumn, which was we were really dreading. Was there was a memorial for people who'd been part of this sports club who had died during the year. And there was a little memorial. Normally it's a big lunch, but because of COVID, it couldn't be. So they were just having a small Zoom meeting that they were going to record and put up, and they were just inviting just the family members to listen in. And my dad was one of the people that they were doing a memorial for. So myself and my family were listening in, but we were dreading it. It's not our type of thing. We were just dreading it. But actually, it was one of the funniest things we ever saw in our life, because everyone was old, because it was like loads of old people had died. So it was their brothers and their wives and stuff like that who'd never been on Zoom before, and you could only see the top of someone's head, and someone else you could just see their trousers, and then someone else was having a fight with his wife during, and then there was another guy who was making phone calls, another guy who was pouring himself wine and emptying his rucksack out during, and because the microphones, no one understood you could just switch off your microphone and mute while the other person was talking. So there'd be one person saying, and we were all so devastated at our loss. He was our favourite family member, and of course we all remember him at this time. But you're seeing someone else's camera too. People are coughing, picking their nose, whatever, because they haven't got their mute. So every time they move, the camera goes to them. We were laughing, we were muted, and we were laughing so much we were almost wetting ourselves. I promise you, it was the weirdest memorial we ever went to. But
To me,
Great
that
fun.
sounds like that's got to be hilarious. If there's like a memorial,
Yeah,
and there's like an
Ola,
old guy and an old
Did they
man like
record it?
arguing about like I've got my microphone on, and he's like freaking out, yelling at the wife, and like, they're getting in a fight about fucking Zoom.
She would say, "Why don't you keep it down for a change?" And he was saying, "Because I'm in a meeting." And she was going, "Well, I said I wanted to watch the football." And him going, "Well, watch it in another room." And we're going, "Okay." And someone else was crying in the other thing because they're talking about their dearly beloved dad who's died. It was so beautiful.
Man.
It was so funny. It just made it for us.
Did they record it? I'd love to see it. That's so terrible of me.
You're right. I think they did record it. I think that was the point. But I was scared to ask because when it came to my dad's one, right, the person who was going to do my dad's memorial or eulogy, whatever, couldn't do it at the last minute. So the guy organising said, "Well, will one of you do it?" And myself and my sisters were like, "Actually, we don't feel strong enough to do that. We would have needed more planning. We don't feel strong enough. It was going to be too emotional for us." And so the organizer said, "I'll speak." I knew him. "I'll speak about him." So we said, "Thank you. We'd appreciate that." But his speech was just about what he knew about my dad, which was just meeting him down at the pub. So the entire speech was about meeting him at the pub. And my dad had played sports nationally, for the country. So there was more to say than just going down to the pub. But that's all this guy spoke about. And he put up a small picture of my dad for the first 2 minutes of the eulogy, and for the next 12 minutes it was just a picture of the pub they went to. That's all the picture was. Well, we were cracking up laughing. We were saying, "Wow, Dad really loved this." His eulogy is just a picture of a pub. Nothing else.
What's amazing about that though is he when he wrote that he was like it was really heartfelt, He's I'm just thinking of good old John hanging down at the pub or whatever his name was.
Oh yeah, no, we were
It's
really
amazing.
appreciative of it. We thanked him. We were really appreciative of it because we couldn't do. We would have been trying to do something, normal.
I just wanted to add, trying to do anything sentimental over Zoom can be difficult. The sentimentality goes out the wall if your grandfather's head isn't centered and you're just seeing one of his eyes and he's saying something sentimental to you. You're just like, "Thank you, Cyborg. Thank you for informing me."
That's so true.
That's what it was like. Well, it was a wonderful experience for us. So, when all that stuff came up this year about, that went viral, people having the arguments on Zoom, we were like, yeah, we've seen worse.
So I gotta say, for work meetings though, it sucks.
And someone
Sucks
brought
so
up I think Ola said, picking your nose, just crotch shots that people don't realize they're doing. That stuff is I can't escape it. If I'm in any Zoom call, if it's a business one or it doesn't matter, it's someone is mooning the camera or something. It's it just shows you how frequently I think we forget where we are and what we're doing.
So yesterday I propped my other laptop up on a box to make it so that the angle was right in front of my two screens. And about halfway through, I noticed the box was tipped and I'm leaning sideways. So I kind of get up and I'm trying to continue this presentation and I'm turning this laptop as I'm still talking and it almost fell. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so stupid." It's hard. I don't like having to rely solely on technology.
No, it is. I like that visualization though. You looking very professional from the neck up, but then suddenly the box falling and God knows what's going on.
Folgers Coffee Folgers Coffee did a commercial on that. It's to the tune of with Folgers in your cup, but they put in the lyric "We can see your boxers, Dan," or something like that. And the dude who's got a suit on from the waist up, except he's in his ginch, but the camera's just a little too low.
That's
it's going to be funny because in movies in the future, this is going to be a thing that is going to be in movies. 15 years ago, this would never been in a movie. 5 years from now, Seth Rogen's movies are going to have people doing stuff like this, jerking off on Zoom or whatever, and getting busted and all that kind of stuff.
But I didn't hear. I remember hearing somewhere that like very soon a president will be elected whose penis we've all seen. Very obvious that's going to happen
And
very
that
soon.
person is Travis Pangburn.
Hey, we may have already seen their penises for all we know. I mean, how would you assign a penis to a head? You know, you don't really know.
Well, that's why you take. This is why I don't understand. Like, men should take the dick pic with their face in it.
Who was that big black guy?
They were either super flexible or had a really large dick, Pangburn.
I've been saying that for years.
Yeah, no, you lay on it like a pillow.
You gotta be a
man. Do you guys remember like
gotta...
right when lockdown started, like all those pictures of that big black guy with that dong, like he's sitting on the side of his bed, and those pictures were just going on everywhere.
I hate telling you all this, but I probably have a lot of pictures with penises near my head.
I have a friend, Scott, that very image you're talking about, that guy that has like the King Kong dong hanging off the edge of the bed. That one goes around in so many things. It's like, happy birthday, here's your eBay gift card from your friend in the image, and you click it, there's no gift card, it just throws that picture right in your face.
That guy's dead, and their family's trying to capitalize off of his dick pics.
I heard that.
Ooh, interesting thing enough, do you guys know who Tom Segura is? Because Tom Segura ran with that meme, like he did tons of stuff with it. So he took a bunch of money and gave it to that guy's family.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Interesting. I have a lot of those pictures on my phone because everyone at work found out that I was cracking up so much over them that they would make the memes for me.
It's just that one day when they project your company phone up until the PowerPoint presentation. Oh, whoops, we went on Zombie Killer Chick's phone. Oh, this is
no, it's all on my personal phone. None of that on the company phone.
The favorite one I saw of those memes is it was him like just turned into clouds, like, and it was just a cloud in the sky with him just sitting there.
Yeah, I think I might have that one.
I like the one that are suggestive, and you already know what the rest of it is. They don't even have to show it. Eventually, you can just show the upper body of that guy, and you know what's down below.
Yeah.
He's like the human tripod.
Yeah. Oh, literally. Yeah.
Well, his dong was literally the size of his calves. You know, I mean, it was just like fucking.
It's like a baby's arm holding an apple.
It's insane.
Yeah, there was I saw a video of like somebody getting a gift. I don't know if it went pretty viral, and it was like they're standing outside their house, and they open the door, and they get a blanket, and it's her and her husband like on like their wedding day, and this is like a huge blanket. And they're looking at it, and they're like, "Oh, that's really nice." And they're like on like a beach or whatever, and then you turn it over, and it's just fucking 6-foot picture of him on the backside of the blanket, dong out and everything on the bed. Like, oh my! And they just start laughing, and he was like, "No."
Attack of the dong.
That's fucking hilarious.
That's funny. I must have deleted them. I'm looking for them.
Yeah, at some point, that thing's just a weapon.
Hey, hey, Grim, did you unmute Nivek? He sent me a message asking if I muted him.
I saw that him. I had a conversation with him on the side, and then I unmuted him when he came up. It's okay. He can unmute himself at any point.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I don't know what the fuck when I walked into, but I disappeared for about an hour in a meeting, so...
who is Apesman? Is that the guy with the kids? Apesman?
That's
you guys
Wise
remember
Ape.
that guy?
Oh yeah,
I
Wise.
haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Wise
in a while.
He's still called Wise Ape.
Yeah, Apesman. How's it going?
Great. How you guys doing?
Oh, great.
Good,
I just
man.
wanted to make sure you had your mic working and everything was good. Cool.
Now, is that Apes Man or Apes Men, like you're Jewish?
Apes Man.
All right.
Love it.
It's like Spider-Man, you know?
Yeah. So, and apparently, so I always thought Spider-Man, like the character, was just one word, but everywhere I look, it's got a dash in it.
It's hyphenated, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it's one word, it's Spiderman. Like his last name would be Jewish, you know, like
yeah,
Kaufman or something, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose, but it was
that
one of those weird effects where I thought I had seen it like that before, and I was like, you know, it's just fantasy taking liberties and just making that Spider-Man. But we can ask Dal, who is Spider-Man.
Dude, have you guys ever seen the Italian Spider-Man?
I might be Jewish. You don't know.
Well,
Get the fuck out of here, then. No, I'm kidding.
I know. I joke with him all the time about it. It's like I'm like ripping on Jewish people.
Well, have
you guys ever seen the Italian Spider-Man? If you have not, I suggest you do yourself a favor and look that shit up.
Die.
The Italian Spider-Man. How do you fly through the air with that many cigarettes? I don't know.
Dude, that's the greatest thing. It's this big fat guy and he's like smoking cigarettes and like he's like, ciao ragazza, and he hits like this girl in the face.
Just spills his wine and stuff.
Dude, it's just so ridiculous, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna post a. Oh goddamn! I'm gonna switch over.
What up, Bosso?
Post
How's it going today?
Fine, thank you very much.
Cool. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Bobby, Dal, what you guys got? Dal, I know you're trying to chime in there.
Yeah, what were you saying there, Dal? Probably something super gay.
Yeah, something super gay. I don't remember what it was, but it was gay.
Awesome. That's what I was hoping. That's what I was hoping for secretly.
Yeah, I'm dog sitting right now, so I might have to randomly mute because dogs are barking.
Dude, you should turn your video on.
Cat sanctuary?
Show us the dogs. Turn your video on.
Don't you live on a cat sanctuary?
They're in Canada.
Ah. Oh, Dal's turning on his video if anyone wants to see. Oh,
here's one.
Cute.
Oh, that's a good dog.
This is Kiki.
Hey, Kiki.
Hi, Kiki.
Oh.
I love you,
Oh,
Kiki.
they're barking.
Way to go, Dal.
He's awesome.
I just had a dog sit my parents' 3-month-old French bulldog, and that thing shit all over my house, pissed all over my house.
Fuck, man.
My dog got a hold
like,
of
just
chocolate
God damn it.
yesterday, and I woke up to Hershey Kisses all over the floor.
Oh, no.
Terrible.
That's not good.
Oh.
No.
Look at pretty.
That's a good-looking dog. Yeah, look at him.
It's a pity.
Gracie.
It's a pit mix or something. What's that mix?
That's a pit.
What's up?
She's a pit.
Oh.
Yeah. I love
Is it
those.
like a
I love
pit
those
mixed with like a black
side
lab
to
or something?
side smiles that pit bulls have. They just kill me.
Yeah.
Like it's the sweetest. So sweet.
Pits
Those
are
are some
nice
nice
dogs.
bitches.
Yeah.
Nice bitches.
Nice bitches. Some fine.
Dude, is Dal, is that a pit mixed with like a lab or something? Because it didn't look like it was straight pit. That head was a little bit thin for a straight pit.
What I understand, she's not a mix. Gracie, come here.
Huh.
Yeah, I thought she was a purebred just to I think the
Oh,
blackness.
she's taken on.
Yeah, the ears.
Gracie, come here.
Don't be
So
afraid of
like,
doubts.
like every pit I know just has like these just like massive fucking heads.
Yeah, actually, they all. Some of them do have smaller heads.
Oh yeah. The nose is different. It's a pit mix. It definitely is a pit mix.
Yeah, you might be right. That was a better view.
It's possible. I don't actually know for sure, but
And let's talk
if
about
she is
you.
pure, she's small.
What are you? Are you pure or what?
Pure?
I am pure Daotsu.
I am pure
Purebred Irish, I'd bet, right?
I'm Irish and Polish.
I don't know. He looks like
your beard looks like mine, so I assume you're Irish.
It's got red in it.
It's like,
if you can.
Well, when it's really patchy. Like my beard is really patchy. Like it just
I was
pisses me
gonna say,
off.
Dalsu, you look like you have some Native American in you
Dalsu.
because you're looking Apache.
Yeah,
So my aunt just got a
We're all gonna have to go through the gauntlet. Now it's gonna be Scott's
Yeah.
turn, and we can grill
Here,
Scott.
let me show you.
Oh, dude, I'll
I need to shave.
This is going to
patchy
be
ass
the
beard.
best advertisement ever for the Discord because everyone's going to want to.
Let me show you what it looks like.
these
Let me show you
ugly
what it looks
mugs
like when
we're
it gets
looking at.
real thick.
Oh, yeah?
When it gets real thick.
Well, that's no
It's
fair.
gonna
Ola
come
and
out
I
like
have
that.
to
There we go.
ourselves.
You gotta get the top trimmed.
Delsu's got the flow of doom, man.
That's awesome.
God, I just could not
Yeah,
do
I
it,
get
man.
the,
I got like to like half your length, and I was like, "Fuck this shit." That is just
That's
way too much.
that's the
fucking-
hardest part, dude. When it's hitting you in the eyes and getting in your nose,
Yeah,
like
dude.
it's.
Oh my
I thought it was
God.
more like once your hair starts getting too long, you start falling in love with yourself in the mirror. Isn't that normal, guys?
Well, yeah,
I
think you
don't
also
have
start
mirrors for
listening
that
to
reason.
shoegaze
I just
music.
meditate.
I think that's
the
when you
hair
start
short like this.
You start listening to Bright Eyes at that
Get off,
point.
get
And it's like, okay, I can't do it anymore. If you guys don't know who Bright Eyes is, like fucking check it out sometime. It's some weird fucking shoegaze stuff.
I think I'm gonna tell everyone on YouTube if you want to join us for the after show here. I think we'll talk about some fun things. I also think we should go full Howard Stern on Scott and talk about Scott's drunken night on the Discord a couple nights ago.
Oh my god, dude!
I don't
Join
know.
us. You guys got the Discord link,
dude.